Come on in, do all the good things, start tapping the screen, sharing out the live, do the gift goal stuff. You guys know what to do. Good morning, Dr. Blitz. How are you?
I'm doing all right. How are you?
I'm doing good. I'm going to play my theme song real quick, and then we're going to go ahead and get started.
Sure thing.
It's a brand new day and she's back again. Get yourself a beverage, let's get settled in. It's Decon Q and A.
You guys, if you're over on
CrystalJae.
YouTube, we are live on YouTube on the Deconstruction Junction and my YouTube this morning. Welcome in everybody from YouTube.
All our questions answered, our favorite creators on display. It's Decon Q and A with CrystalJae.
You guys, welcome in everybody. Thank you for being here.
Hey, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, get ready for the fun. Decon Q and A with CrystalJae.
So we have not had the pleasure to meet before, Dr. Blitz, but I'm really, really excited that you decided to join my little show this morning. I am CrystalJae, and I've been in the deconstruction community for about a year now. I was the co-host with Joyful Apostate, and now I'm kind of doing my own stuff, and mainly Decon Q and A with CrystalJae, where we give no, that was not me singing. I wish. I did write the lyrics, but that's not me singing. But I wanted to give a space where people could come up and ask you guys questions without always interrupting your shows to do so, like about you and about, or whatever is on their mind. So that's where the show idea came from. And we've been having a good time doing this show for the past about 6 months now. So thank you so much for being here. If you respond, I cannot hear you.
Oh, okay, good. That means that my phone is using my plugged-in mic, not my headphone mics, which is good. But I forgot to turn on my plugged-in mic. So yeah, no, I do appreciate it. I think I caught the one that you did with Ian, and I thought that was neat, and I appreciate you reaching out to me. So it's a delight to be here. Although I'm not as much a deconstructor, if you will, considering I never was constructed to begin with. So, but I'm happy to answer questions.
And I have a lot of friends now that I've met along the way as I deconstructed that were always atheists, and I'm just so jealous. I wish that had been my life, but unfortunately I was indoctrinated. But I think that even if you haven't deconstructed, you are helping other people deconstruct, and I think that's the important thing, right?
Well, I mean, if it ends up helping people, I'm glad to be of service, I suppose.
I think it does help people. I mean, for instance, I want you to understand like what you've done for me that you probably don't realize. When you grow up in religion that is, so all-encompassing, a lot of times most of the time, you are just taught to not educate yourself. And people like you, so growing up, I did not learn a lot about science or history or, I don't know, anything other than what was right-wing conservative Christian values and topics. And having you come online and do your shows educates people like me who didn't have that opportunity when we were younger. And you do it in a way that is entertaining. You teach at different people's levels. I've noticed like sometimes, it depends on who you're talking to on how you explain things. And I really, for one, appreciate all your shows. I really do.
Well, that's too kind. Well, perhaps it's at least very kind. Let's put it that way.
Well, I really do appreciate it. And I think a lot of people do, to be honest with you. When you feel like you've been left behind kind of in certain areas of education, it's so great to have people like you out there that we can learn from. And I, for one, really appreciate it. Okay, let me... hang on one second.
Sure.
I am searching for something. Oh, maybe I did that. I am trying to find my little icebreaker questions, but I don't know if they got saved. Oh no, wait, I'm looking up the wrong.
No worries, take your time. I got time this morning.
Okay, all right, here we go. Let's see. Had him changed up a little bit. All right, you guys, so let me tell you a little bit if you're new to this show. I'm CrystalJae. This is Decon Q and A with CrystalJae. Today, our guest is Dr. Blitz, and I usually start the show. I'm going to ask him 10 icebreaker questions, and why did it just change? Why did it do that? Why is this happening? Okay, hang on. Let's try again. Nice. All right, one more time. Okay, we have it. Okay, you guys, so first I'm going to ask him some icebreaker questions, and then we're going to invite you guys to come up, and you can ask Dr. Blitz your questions, and then at the end, we're going to play a little fun game called Divine or Decline. So here we go. Let's go ahead and start. Would you rather debate Ken Ham live on stage to be forced to watch God's Not Dead repeat for 24 hours?
Oh, I'd definitely rather debate Ken Ham. I'd make him look silly.
I would love it if you debated Ken Ham, because I actually believed that shit when I was a Christian.
I'm so sorry.
Yeah, that. Oh God, I cringe every time I think about how I believed that stuff. So I never did visit the art experience. Okay, I didn't get that far.
That's good. That's good.
Okay, what's a scientific fact that blew your mind the first time you heard it?
It's a hard question to answer because, like, I've become so used to a lot of these things that they don't seem weird to me anymore. But the thing the typical answer I give, and perhaps it's not nearly as mind-blowing to a lot of other people, but there's a thing that happens. We all have heard of black holes. Black holes are like these things with really, really strong gravity. And what's really weird is, I mean, most of them are spinning. Like, most things in the universe are spinning. That's not surprising. Earth spins, the sun spins, everything spins. But if you take a spinning black hole and, you know, it's spinning along some axis, and you drop something in along the axis that's also spinning in the same direction, it'll bounce off the black hole. It won't be attracted, it'll be repelled. It's really weird.
That is weird. That's really cool. I did not know that. That's really cool. All right. Would you rather argue with a flat earther for an hour or have to explain quantum entanglement to a creationist?
Well, I do both of those on the regular for fun, so it's like, which would you rather do? Like, probably argue with a flat earther, because quantum entanglement, at least with flat earthers, you can like tell them that you don't have to get into, like, you can talk about sunsets. You don't have to talk about quantum mechanics. So it's probably probably more successful with a flat earther. Yeah.
Have you ever, this is not on my list, but I'm just wondering, have you ever, while you're talking to like flat earthers, been able to get them to change their mind?
The ones that are on the fence, I've definitely made them think about it more. But most of the ones that come in and they want to like do like, they're like, I'm a big debater. I'm a big debater, I'm going to come debate flat earth. Most of them, they're lost causes.
It is wild to me because, I've watched videos. To me, it's wild that there are people who think this, obviously, like, it just blows my mind. I never was a flat earther, even as a Christian, just so you know. I did not believe that.
I actually have friend who was at least up until recently, I don't want to name names because I don't want to out him.
No.
But he was a young Earth creationist up until recently, and he like argued against flat earthers. He's like, yeah, like I think the Bible's literal, and also the Earth is round because it says it's round in the Bible.
Yeah, like I didn't believe that the Bible said it was flat. So to me, it was like, that's not what that says, you know.
Yeah.
And that's how I dealt with that, you know. But listening to flat earthers, like some of them, no matter what amount of evidence, it does not matter what you bring to them. They will never believe that the earth's not flat. So it doesn't change them one way or the other. You guys, thank you all for coming in. If you could keep tapping the screen, sharing out the live, hitting my gift goal would be wonderful this morning. And also, if you haven't subscribed, it's less than a cup of coffee a month. And I bring you great people as guests up here. We do Decon Q and A with CrystalJae. We also have non-believers Bible study on Wednesday mornings and pop-up conversations with Christians. So, if you've already subscribed, think about gifting out some subscriptions to the chat. They love it when you do that, but you should subscribe. You really should. Okay. If your life had a warning label based on your personality or habits, what would it say?
That's a tough one. My life had a warning label. I want to say something like, warning, hyperfocus happens at random times or something like this.
Yes.
Because, occasionally something will come up and I'll, get in the groove of it and I'll work on a problem from 10 a.m. up until 7 and then I forget that it's time to eat dinner and that just happens sometimes and you just got to let it happen.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I think that mine would always be about me, something to do with me being too loud because I am loud for some reason. I don't know why, but I laugh loud. I can talk loud. And so it would have to be that for me. What's one piece of junk science or pseudoscience that makes you irrationally annoyed? Or maybe rational.
Well, yeah, no, right. It's tough. There's kind of like two things competing. So one is just like whenever anybody says that's just a theory and uses it to say, oh, I don't have to believe it because that's just a theory. That's really annoying because it's like they don't know what words mean. The other thing, perhaps more specific, is when somebody comes on and says, I'm trying to study or I'm trying to understand or I'm trying to do or you should believe XYZ spiritual or biblical or whatever thing, and then when they go on to explain how it works, they say, because I've been studying quantum mechanics.
Okay.
It's like, so I made a video recently and about a woman who's like, I think telekinesis is real, and I know this because quantum mechanics. Yeah.
Yes.
Like that's maybe I shouldn't let it bother me, but it does.
No, no, that would bother me, especially in your field. But the theory thing, I'm going to admit, I like to admit who I was because you don't really grow till you realize who you were, you know what I mean? And I did not understand what a theory was either. I thought it was like the colloquial way we say it, like it's just a theory, where it's just a guess or whatever. And so that's what I'm talking about. So even if you think you're not teaching people stuff, you're teaching people stuff because there's people like me that were like, oh, I did not realize that. I sound stupid, And yeah, so it does help, I promise you. What's something you wish religious people actually understood about science and something you wish scientists understood about religious people?
It's a good one. So what I wish. So the thing is most scientists, not most, but like a big chunk of scientists, like 45% of scientists, at least in the US, hold some form of religious or spiritual beliefs. So like there's not a lot to take on there. it would be good if the scientists who aren't religious, the scientists who are religious already know this, but the scientists who are not religious, it would be good if that type of scientist understood that it's not necessarily the case that religious beliefs have to contradict with scientific beliefs. And I guess actually that would probably be my message to both groups. You can have religious beliefs as long as they take a backseat to scientific beliefs when it comes to things about the world around us, then that's fine. Like if you want to believe in an afterlife because it, helps you find meaning in this world. If you want to believe that there's somebody kind of like looking out for you, even if there's no direct influence, that's fine. It's not going to hurt. I mean, maybe it'll hurt somebody, but like, I don't think that that's generally harmful. And I think that people can have really compelling experiences that lead them to that conclusion. And that shouldn't preclude them from being a scientist.
I like that. My husband's kind of like that. He's an engineer, and now since I've deconstructed, of course, he does not believe the Bible God anymore. But there's a part of him that believes that there is something, and I see no problem with that. He's not really sure. He doesn't believe that it's an omnipotent, omnibenevolent. He's not even sure what he really believes it is, but he believes there's something. And I see no problem with that. Let's see. What's the weirdest or most unexpected hobby you have outside of science and academia?
Oh, well, it's not weird. It's exactly what you would expect from a nerdy person who's also engaged in like debate lord online stuff. I play video games and I do Dungeons and Dragons. Like that's exactly expected. Oh no, you know what? Okay, I don't know if this counts, but like I'm a licensed scuba diver.
Oh, that's
which
really
people may have not expected.
I love that. No, I did not expect that of you, but that is really cool. My daughter is a scuba diver. She hasn't done it in a while, but she has been certified, and that is really cool.
Certified, that's the right word, not licensed. You don't need a license to scuba dive.
Yeah, true. I cannot scuba dive because I float. I can't sink.
Then you just need more weights.
As a matter of fact, I don't need to tread water at all.
That's nice. Can't drown.
They can float. Yeah, I cannot drown. It's a weird thing about me. I'm very buoyant. I scuba dive. I snorkel though, because I can go very far and not have to tread water or anything. So I do enjoy that. I know you need more weights, but then I start to feel like, I don't know if claustrophobic is the right word for
that's fair.
That feeling.
It's not for everybody.
But so putting more and more weights on freaks me out a little bit. But anyway, yeah. Let's see. What's your go-to fun fact?
Fun fact. Everybody always asks me that, and I never have a good answer. What is my go-to fun fact? Well, clearly, if I have to think about it, it's not go-to, right?
Right. I did like the black hole one earlier. That was a really good one.
That's usually what I think of as like the surprising thing, but it's not like a quick fun fact, right? So
yeah, true.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm gonna have to pass on that one.
Find you one.
I need to come up. Yeah, I have to find one and just have it in. Oh no, here's a good one, and it's because it's related to a joke. What is the joke is something like, what do I and 100 trillion neutrinos have in common?
I have no idea.
We're both constantly penetrating your mom.
Oh my God.
But the fun fact there is that, yeah, in any given moment of time, in every second, there are 100 trillion neutrinos passing through every single person on Earth.
That is hilarious. That is hilarious. Oh my God.
It's also my wife's favorite science joke, so,
I like your wife. She's funny.
Yeah, me too. That's why I married her.
All right, let's see. All right, would you rather have to teach a room full of toddlers about particle physics or convince a Facebook group that vaccines aren't government tracking devices?
Oh, I'd rather teach a room full of toddlers. They're
Wouldn't that be
receptive.
so much more fun. Yeah, right.
It would be.
And they're inquisitive, and they're, yeah, and they're more well behaved than a Facebook group.
Yeah.
All right, you guys, this is my last question for Dr. Blitz. If you would like to come up and ask him a question, just go ahead and hit the guest request. If you are on YouTube, I just want you to know, if you're on the Deconstruction Zone, or not Deconstruction Zone, the Deconstruction Junction YouTube channel. Hey, Justin, didn't mean to mention you there, but hey, Justin. I know there's probably super chats or whatever. I can't read them. I'm not in that page right now, but if you want, just come over to TikTok. You can come up and ask a question. Just hit the guest request, okay? All right. What's one question you secretly wish people would ask you during interviews, but they don't?
That's a hard one. Maybe I just don't think about these things a whole lot. Perhaps it's something like, what is the best part of getting to do scientific research? That's probably because people don't really know what it's like. When people imagine scientists, often it's like, oh, they're thinking of like a chemist, like mixing test tubes,
Yeah,
right?
it's true.
Or like maybe they're thinking of like a biologist mixing test tubes. That's like the image of science, and we probably have Bill Nye to thank for that. But yeah, I mean, like the most science in my field is completely unrelated to that. I mean, obviously, we don't use test tubes.
What is the best part?
It's probably, at least for me, I'm a theorist, so like this is, going to be different for different kinds of scientists, but probably for me, it's when you have an idea, and then like you have some sort of intuition, something that like you think might work, and then you spend a week or 2 weeks or 3 weeks working out the details to like check if it actually does work, and at the end of it, it works. Like everything just falls into place really nicely. That's really satisfying, because when that happens, then it's like the weeks and weeks of buildup, and then you finally get like, yes, success, and then you get to publish a paper.
That's really cool. That would be really, really cool. We have our first guest. Good morning, Michael. Thank you for joining us. Did you have a question for Dr. Blitz this morning? Michael, are you with us? I'm going to give him a second. He looks like he has bars. We have somebody else popping up. We'll talk to Prince. Hey, Prince, before I get to you real quick, you guys, thank you so much for 11,000 likes. And I have a Heart Me flash goal. If you haven't sent a Heart Me, if you could send one, that would be great. Also, if you haven't subscribed, think of doing so today. If you've already subscribed, think of gifting the chat. Prince, did you have a question for Dr. Blitz this morning?
Yes, ma'am.
Howdy.
Go ahead.
How you doing, Dr. Blitz? I'm a huge fan of yours, my friend.
Well, thank you.
So I'm just starting to get into like the whole world of physics, and I understand that like you're a fan of keeping your life private. I was wondering like how we could access some of the like documents that you've written, because I've heard you talk about them on your lives.
Yeah. So generally, I don't share those. However, in very specific circumstances, especially for students, I will often share them in private. So if you want to reach out to me on Discord, I can send you something, as long as you promise to keep it on the DL.
Awesome. I'd appreciate that. I'll definitely look into your Discord server. Thank you.
Yeah, of course.
Prince, did you have anything else you wanted to ask? Oh, all right.
Oh, no, apparently not.
Hey, Grana, good morning. How are you today?
I'm so excited that your Q&A is here today. I've missed you. So.
I was on vacation, had a little hiatus. I am back, and I have some great guests lined up. We have Lobes Absurdus coming.
Wow.
Controversial Compass will be on the show. Daniel Green and I are working out a special time. Joel and Mezzo should be back. Justin will be back.
I missed the first one. Sorry, I'm so excited.
I've got some great people.
way too excited.
No,
and
yeah,
those
I'm
can be found
excited
on
too.
the you post those right in the where do you post those? Sorry, I can't think of my word.
Oh, they post on YouTube. You can catch them on the playlist Decon Q and A with CrystalJae, and I also have a Discord. You guys, link is in my bio, and of course, make sure you join the Deconstruction Junction Discord as well. But yeah, so you always get a little heads up in my Discord, though, Brianna.
Perfect. Thank you. Dr. Blitz, I'm so excited to talk to you today. First of all, I want to say, as a teacher, I love how you explain things. I'm not teaching now, but I taught for like 10 years. And I feel smart when I listen to you because I'm like, oh my gosh, I understood what he said. This is so cool. So you do a great job.
Thank
I feel
you.
dumb, but
Well, it's not
like,
that I
what?
can explain it back or anything once he says it. I couldn't explain it to someone else, but I understood it while he was
That's
saying
cool.
it, and that's good enough for me. Like, I can
Yeah,
play back this
absolutely.
thing if I need to, if it's available. But my first question is just kind of silly, but very important to me. Is on Star Trek: The Next Generation, which I'm assuming you've watched as many times as I have. Who is your favorite character if you have one?
Well, so of the main cast,
Yes, of the main
I
character.
mean, it has to be Data, right? Like, it just has to
No,
be.
it has to be Worf.
No, Worf just no. The right answer is Data. That is the correct answer. Now,
Well,
as far
it
as
can
like
be your correct answer.
exactly, as far as like the show as a whole, it might be Q. I also look in DS9. Miles O'Brien is probably my favorite character, and he also shows up in TNG. So I might have to also go with Miles O'Brien. So
Oh, he's awesome. So I can understand all of those. Yes. And then I'm wondering, just because I was a teacher, do you want me to share how I showed my kids why a globe and a flat map don't work well? Like you can't make a flat map out of a globe correctly.
why not?
What I did was I took one of those blow up balls. That's a globe, but they're like basically beach balls, but they're a globe. And I cut it on where they had the lines. Why can't I think of the lines now? Sorry, I'm all nervous. I don't know why I'm nervous, but I'm all nervous all of a sudden. And then you try and flatten it out, and you see the spaces.
yeah.
And you can tell that the flat map on the wall is filling in those spaces. So it's very visual for a fifth grader to see that. And they go, oh, okay, that makes sense. That's why Antarctica looks humongous. And then on a globe, it's really, really tiny.
Yeah. It's actually
that's really cool.
it's basically exactly what the Mercator projection does.
Right.
So yeah, no, that's a great visualization. Unfortunately, it doesn't work on flat earthers, but it's a great visualization for people who are learning.
Well, I was just wanting you to know that was, if someone ever asks, you can give them as go do this, and if they can go experience it for themselves. And then I had one other thing. What was it? Oh my gosh, I forgot. I was so excited to ask too. What is your favorite part of teaching people on things?
Sorry, you cut out. What was the last thing you said?
Do you love about when you in
cut
your
out again.
everyday life in the classroom?
Try
What's
again,
going on?
Brianna. You cut out again.
I don't know what's going on. Let me move my phone. All right, did that help at all?
Okay.
Okay,
Yeah.
sorry, I don't know what happened. My phone was freaking out. All right, what is your favorite part about teaching people on Facebook and stuff, or not Facebook, but TikTok, as opposed to in your everyday life in a classroom setting or online?
Yeah, so they're just really different, right? So on the one hand, one of my favorite things that I get to do, I haven't done it in a while because I was in a purely research position. But while I was a grad student, one of my favorite things that I could do was do demos. So, you're lecturing in front of 120 engineering majors, and you get to get out onto a spinning chair and then spin around and hold weights and bring them in and out and do the whole ice skating thing where you speed up as you bring your arms in, and that's just fun to do physical demos in a large space.
Nice.
And so that's great about teaching in person, but the nice thing about teaching doing content creation on TikTok, science-based content creation, is that I don't really have to make sure that the audience, and maybe this is a bad thing, but I don't have to make sure that the audience knows all of the background before covering a topic. Because, if I wanted to talk about quantum mechanics in a classroom setting, that's like a whole semester, right? A whole semester of working through the basics and building up to the point where we can talk about it in a way that makes sense. And it's the case that a lot of the time, that foundation that you have to build can be really boring. Especially when there's just a lot of mathematics involved. For a lot of people, that's very boring. And so one of the nice things about being on TikTok or being on YouTube or wherever is that I can just jump into the neat thing, and then people can kind of like vibe along with it and pick up some things here and there. And if they're curious, they can do some Googling.
Right. Oh, I love that.
Yeah, that's cool.
That's really cool. Yeah, and the demonstrations are always a blast, even if they're the simplest thing for fifth grade.
Yeah. It's my favorite demo is the ice skater one, where you're on a spinning chair and you're holding weights. It's my favorite one.
Nice. Mine was when they write how to make a sandwich, and you'd act it out in front of the classroom, how to make a sandwich. But like they say, take the bread, but they don't say to open the bag. So you just literally rip through the bag and take the bread. Or lift up the whole thing and go, okay, I got some bread, so those are all fun stuff to get to do. So I love that. Well, thank you so much. And thank you, Crystal, for letting me come up.
Of course.
Thank you, Grana. If you want to come back at the end, we will be playing Divine or Decline. So
yes, awesome.
Come up and join us. Okay. Enjoy. Thanks again. Prince, welcome back. Did you have another question?
Yes, ma'am. I apologize. My app
No problem.
closed out.
No problem.
I know that
I have a question too as well.
I'm sorry, Mace. We don't interrupt. Okay. We take one question at a time. He was before you.
Yes, ma'am.
You'll wait.
Sorry, ma'am.
Go ahead, Prince.
I'm assuming that this isn't a theological question Q and A, but usually those debates are a lot more busy for you, Dr. Blitz. Do you mind if I just ask you one question about that?
Sure, I don't mind.
What would be your biggest issue with the Kalam cosmological argument?
I take issue with both premises generally. I think that when we talk about things beginning to exist, we usually kind of have this colloquial notion of a chair began to exist. But what we really mean when we say the chair began to exist is that somebody took wood that already existed, somebody took nails and glue that already existed, then turned them into a chair. And so if we're really talking about where things come from, we've never really seen something truly begin to exist from going from nothing to something, right? So, just the statement that everything that has a beginning, or just the statement that we have any intuition about things that have beginnings have causes. We don't have any intuition about things having beginnings in general. And then of course there's the genuine empirical question of, did the universe actually have a beginning? And we just don't have an answer to that. And anybody who asserts otherwise is just not interacting with the cosmology literature. If you ask cosmologists, you won't get a straight answer. And if the cosmologists don't know the answer, then surely a theologian won't know the answer.
So I'm willing to admit that I could be ignorant about something. So I'm genuinely trying to ask for you to define this. But do you think that it's illogical for the natural elements that create these things to have began at some point? Because obviously, like you said, we've never seen something come from nothing.
Yeah. So, we break things down into pieces, right? So you start with a chair. The chair is made of wood. The wood is made of molecules. The molecules are made of atoms. Okay, where did the atoms come from? Well, we know that some of these atoms were made in stars, and so they were made from smaller atoms. So then where did those smaller atoms come from? Well, those smaller atoms were also made in stars until you get to, hydrogen. And then you ask, well, where did hydrogen come from? Well, hydrogen was made in the first second of the universe, the first second of our observable universe anyway, when the universe was very, very hot. Before that, there was no hydrogen, and there was just quarks, and there was electrons. And then the question is, where did the quarks and electrons come from? Well, as far as we know, those aren't made of anything. And as far as we know, those things, there's no reason to think that those things had a beginning. So it basically takes you all the way back, and then we're just well, as far as we can tell, those things have always existed.
I got you. So in your mind, that would fit the definition of a God in a theologian standpoint.
How do you mean?
As in energy's always been there the same way that a Christian would say that God's always been there.
Sort of. I would just say that we don't really have any, I would more say that we don't have intuition for things genuinely having a beginning. So we shouldn't assume that, we shouldn't assume that the universe had a beginning because, we don't have any intuition about anything else. And B, we don't have any data about things having beginnings, so we can't really talk about when things have beginnings. Do they actually have causes?
Got you. I appreciate you for answering that question.
Yeah, of
and
course.
thank you for allowing me up here. I hope y'all both have a great day.
Thank you. So nice to meet you, Prince. Thanks for coming up.
You too. Thank you.
Mace, did you have a question for Dr. Blitz?
Yeah, so Dr. Blitz, like you say, like there's no cosmologists who say there's no beginning. So is George's limits wrong, or like Edwin Hubble, or like Stephen Hawking, or Roger Penrose, are they wrong?
So if I said no cosmologist would say that, I misspoke. What I mean to say is that there's no consensus amongst cosmologists. They will not tell you, oh, we definitely know that this is the case. They will tell you that, there's this hypothesis and there's that hypothesis, and we have a whole bunch of different models. And, maybe a particular cosmologist likes a particular model. Maybe they have their own pet model. But like when you survey cosmologists as a whole, you're not going to find some like agreed upon idea that yes, it definitely had a beginning, or no, it definitely didn't have a beginning, or anything like that. It's the wild, wild west, if you will. But to answer your question, Lemaitre was certainly wrong. His model just isn't correct anymore. The current model of the Big Bang is originally based on his model, but it's undergone many, many changes. Edwin Hubble, he had the same misunderstandings that Lemaitre would have had. Stephen Hawking thought the universe had a first moment of time, but not a beginning. There was never a time where there was nothing. So, the question of whether or not that counts as a beginning is a different question. It is just the case that it's really not clear. Was there a first moment of time? Was there not a first moment of time? If there was a first moment of time, does that mean that there was nothing before that? Or was there something before that was just timeless? We just don't know.
Okay, I can grant that we have like this kind of like agnostic position, but from what I've seen from like George Lemaitre, so like Edwin Hubble and all of these people, I think they all are like reflecting on like similar concepts, even though they're still agnostic towards it. But like Edwin, for example, would say that like there seems to be some sort of like a smaller dense in past pointing to a beginning, or seems to be pointing to a beginning, and like George's talked about like the primeval atom theory, which also argues for a single point. Although like obviously we are humans, we're limited, and no one have actually experienced what that would look like per se. But it seems like, I've drawn like correlations. I tried to, and it seems like they're all basically talking about the same thing. Alan Goff, Adrian Linde, it seems like they're talking about something that is similar to the same thing, or whatever that object, whatever that singular is. It's just like, it seems like they're just using different language to describe the same thing.
Yeah, so
is that fair to say?
Maybe it would have been fair to say
like
before. So it would have been fair to say before like the 1980s or so. But after the 1980s, people started taking string theory seriously. People started taking loop quantum gravity seriously, started thinking about quantum gravity in a more serious way and quantum cosmology. And really, since then, physicists and cosmologists just really haven't taken the idea of a genuine singularity seriously. And in fact, there was a poll conducted recently asking what cosmologists and relativist people who study these kinds of things, what they think the meaning of the black hole is. And like, what was the number? Only 11% of them said that it had anything to do with the singularity.
Yeah, sure. But I'm saying, like, could it be that, like, although there's like all of these different theories, like whatever it's like some sort of quantum theory or like cyclical or cosmological or whatever that is. So I think it's a conformal cyclical cosmological model or like multiverse theories. Like, wouldn't it be fair to say that consensus in mainstream cosmology is that the universe could have like a finite past, could have a beginning, but we don't necessarily know what a beginning is, but it seems like it's pointing towards that direction.
No, that's just not the consensus.
So it's not pointing towards the beginning?
No, so cosmology points towards the universe being very, very small, 13.8 billion years ago, but there isn't consensus about that being the first, or about there being a first moment of time.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
There
Like,
just isn't consensus about that.
It just seems like it's pointing toward. I'm not saying like whatever is a consensus about it, because obviously we're limited human beings. We'll never know. But I'm saying like based on the different models, would it be fair to say that even though someone has a multi-universe model, or someone else might have like different model, or someone might have like a different cosmological argument, right, or philosophical argument, it could be fair to say like all of these models seems to be pointing towards, or it's leading us towards this thing, but we're still unclear about it. Would it be fair to say?
No. I mean, cyclic models specifically
so
point
like
towards the
leaning
opposite, that there is no first moment.
So what would, if it's pointing towards the opposite? So it's just, what would you call that? Nothing.
It would be an infinite past, an eternal past.
So it's just, so you believe like infinite regress?
No, I'm agnostic about it. The point is that generally we don't have sufficient data to distinguish between the two. We do not have sufficient data to distinguish between an infinite past and a finite past. There's just not enough data. Our theories aren't good enough. Our observational data is not sufficient.
Wait, if there's not enough data, what is wrong with someone committing to like a finite past if you're agnostic towards it? And if someone doesn't,
you can commit to it. It's just not based on any of the data that we have.
So infinite past is not based on the data either, right?
Yeah, the data that we have is consistent with both.
Oh, okay. That's the question I'm asking then. Okay, then that's because it seems like lots of people just like to debate on whatever is like the infinite past is the right one, or like finite past is the right one. And if it's coming out of your mouth that like both could be strong, plausible theories, then like I have no issue with that.
Yeah, I mean, you might have one reason that you like one version, or like, a scientist might prefer one model over another because they have certain intuitions and it agrees with them. But like, as far as a layperson is concerned, like, there's not really a good way to distinguish between the two, given the data we have.
Oh, I see. Okay, that's fair. So like, is this Q and A just like about like cosmology questions, or is any question we can ask?
Just as long as you're respectful and you don't ask personal questions.
When you say personal questions, what do you mean? Like questions about you? Can I ask biblical questions?
You can ask biblical questions. I'm saying like what you wouldn't want to ask is like, hey, Dr. Blitz, have you ever been divorced? It's no, but you know what I'm saying? Like, we're not asking any personal questions.
Fair. That's fair. So like another question I would ask, right, is like a lot of time, like I've seen some atheists or like make theists or Christians look bad if they ask them the question, if you believed in a God, would you strongly hold to the position that it's okay for the God to like unalive a child, right? And the moment when the child says, I'm sorry, the theist or the Christian or whoever religious person says yes, they make them look like as if like inherently evil or something. They just kick them and then like right. But like, what is the issue with that? Because like, if it's not God, right, men do it all the time. In the I worked in a hospital. Doctors do it all the time, and they have reasons. That's why they unalive children for legitimate reasons, right? Could be some disease, could be, right, the child might have some disease. Literally, yes. I've seen it myself.
When have you seen a doctor unalive a child?
What do you mean?
My daughter-in-law is a doctor.
Yeah, I'm a little bit skeptical of this
claim. She
claim.
took a Hippocratic oath. And while children have unalived in her care because she could not help them, she has never unalived them. A person might unalive in a doctor's care. That is not them unaliving the person. Mace, you have to unmute. I didn't mute you or anything, but when has that happened? All right, I'm going to go ahead and drop you down. We're going to move on.
Wait.
Okay, well, you weren't answering, and you weren't answering, and we got a show to do. So. Oh,
sorry. I answered the question.
You were muted.
Oh, I was saying, sorry, I was talking. I was saying that like, they give them certain pills. My grandma, for example, was given a pill and unalived it. Later, they found that the pill the doctor gave to my grandma was inherently flawed.
Children. You were talking.
Oh yeah, children too as well.
Children and stuff.
Yeah.
No.
So are we talking about like assisted sewer slide, like euthanasia, or are we talking about
all of that, right? I count all
yeah,
of that
so
as murder
generally
for a child.
euthanasia and assisted slew or whatever it is, assisted self-unaliving. God, I hate this world that we live in. That's consent. That's consented to, right? Like the person is like, if somebody wants to, terminate their own life because say they have terminal cancer and they're suffering, that's consent. It's not murder, schmurder, right? It's not that because it was consented to, right?
Okay. So fair point, fair response, right? So let's say, for example, like we live in that 21st century, whatever century that we live in, right? And it's like the medical sciences, medical industry has advanced. So like we have a way to like, fairly recognize when to take out a person whenever there's a consent, right? In the Asian world, it was very hard to like advanced medicine was not there in the Asian world. So my question to you, right? It's like if, for example, like there was none of that. It was very hard for someone had a disease, right? A child had a disease, right? Would it be okay for that child to spread the disease? Or would you unalive that child so the child does not spread the disease?
I generally don't think that it's I generally don't think that it's okay to unalive a child because they're sick.
Okay, so
like if they consented to it and are of sound mind, then perhaps, but like not just because you're afraid of them spreading the disease.
So what would you do? What would be the alternative?
Quarantine. Quarantine has been well understood since ancient Egypt.
But quarantine didn't always work because it didn't always work in the Asian world. Many of the time, people work experience.
Okay, I mean, look, if you're trying to justify why you would kill a kid, I'm just telling you, I wouldn't think that that's okay.
No, I'm not justifying why I'm alive a kid. I just think that like there's a lot of
I just think
logical.
we've been on this subject for a little bit too long here, and I do have other people waiting. Mason, I want to thank you for coming up, but we're going to move on and talk to Willia. Willia, how are you this morning?
I'm great, thank you.
I couldn't see your whole name. It's William. I'm so sorry. I now can see it. Can I get your age for TikTok purposes?
Yeah, okay. I'm 19.
All right. Did you have a question for Dr. Blitz this morning?
Yes. So first of all, pardon my English. I'm not a native English speaker.
That's okay.
But I've always wanted to ask a scientist to give me their take on the problem of induction by David Hume on scientific knowledge. Are you familiar with that problem?
Yep. We just have to accept that induction works most of the time. There's not much we can do about it.
Okay, so, but based on the problem of induction, you wouldn't claim to have absolute truth in science, or do you just?
Nope.
Well, you don't. Okay, and because of that, we arise at different theories which could have equally valid applications. But doesn't that kind of show you that sometimes we construct knowledge instead of determining it?
Yeah, sure.
Related to the universe?
I'm a nominalist in a lot of different ways, so like I think that generally a lot of what we do is figuring out the best way to describe things.
Okay. And is that a weakness of science, do you think, or is that just how...
No, it seems like it's worked really, really well in the past to help improve human lives. So, I mean, like, if it's the case that... I mean, like, suppose, for example, that, like, all of science tomorrow just is wrong, like maybe the sun doesn't rise or whatever, because induction just happened to be only right for, 13.8 billion years and not for 13.8 billion years in one day. Well, then, okay, I guess that's the world we live in, right? But, it seems like we have this intuition that when things work in the past, we should keep doing them. Maybe that's just part of human psychology, but it served us well in the past. I have this intuition that it'll continue to work in the future. I don't know why I'd change now.
Yeah, okay. That's really the only question I had. So, but just so I get a clear understanding, so you would say that the problem of induction cannot be solved in any way by science. It's an inherent difficulty.
Yeah, no, I mean, like this is that's a kind of like a meta-scientific question, right? So science is not going to come up with an answer to a problem relating to the foundations of science, but that's what philosophy is for.
Okay. Well, thank you very much. Have a good day.
Yeah, thanks for being here.
William, thanks for coming up. You guys, the guest box is open. If you have a question this morning, you'd like to talk to Dr. Blitz, just come on up, ask me your questions. If you are too shy to come up, ask your questions in chat. I will try to read them out to him best of my ability as I see them. Maybe tag me or say my name, and I'll ask the question or read it out to him. Keep tapping the screen, liking the live. We're only at 21,000 likes, and I know you guys can do better than that. If you like the live, show me you like the live by tapping that screen, sending out the OneCoin GOAT gift to help me reach my 666 goal. And don't forget to subscribe. It's less than a cup of coffee a month. You are subscribed to Netflix, Hulu, Paramount Plus, and Cornhub. And Corn is free on the internet. What are you doing? Cancel some of your subscriptions. You're never watching them anyway. You're here on this app 24/7, 365 days out of the year. I know because I see you here all the time. So cancel those subscriptions, save some money, and come support creators like myself and creators like Dr. Blitz. Shelly, good morning. One more thing. You guys, the guest box is open. Come on up and ask your questions, okay? Shelly, good to see you. How are you today?
Hey, I'm great. How are you? Glad to see you back from your hiatus. Or, I don't know if you call it a hiatus, but you were missed.
Yeah, it was a little hiatus. Yeah, it's good to be back. I had a nice time.
Good. It's good to get away sometimes, I understand.
Yeah.
Hey, Dr. Blitz.
Howdy.
Big fan. Always enjoy your lives. And like Grana said, you usually explain things to where my simple mind can understand them. So I really appreciate that. I did get in late, so I apologize if this question was already asked, but I was just curious now, or just curious.
You kind of broke up there. You want to try again?
Oh shoot, I'm so sorry. I apologize if the question was already asked, but I was just curious if you were ever a theist, and what you would consider yourself now, an atheist or whatever. Just curious.
Yeah, so as far as I can remember, which is not very far back, but as far as I can remember, I've never believed in God. Certainly not in high school, certainly, and memory gets fuzzier the earlier you go back. But so I was raised in a Jewish household, and if you ask my mom, she probably would have stories of me like talking about who knows. I certainly partook in like religious stuff growing up, but I don't have any memory of ever like having this belief. And so I consider myself an atheist. If people want to be more specific, like an agnostic atheist, right? But I'm just not a person who believes in God. I think atheist is the right word for that.
Yeah, that sounds good. And I usually don't get too caught up on anything like that, but I was just curious. Once you said that, I do remember now hearing before that you grew up Jewish, so I do remember that now. But yeah, I was just curious. I just wanted to pick your brain about that.
Yeah.
All right,
Did you have any other questions, Shelly? Oh, no. And don't forget, we're going to be playing Divine or Decline, so come back up if you want to play with us, okay?
Will do. Y'all have a great rest of your life.
Thank you.
Now, a lot of people actually don't know this, but you can be Jewish and also be atheist at the same time. They're not mutually exclusive. And so people will often be confused about this when I say, yeah, I'm Jewish. And then also, yeah, I'm atheist. Like this is actually fairly common because people forget that being Jewish is not just being a believer of a certain religious faith, right? It's a whole people. And so, yeah, that might be confusing to some people who have never talked to Jewish people, but such is the way of things.
Yeah, sounds great. Thank you for clearing that up. Thanks again.
Yeah, of course.
That rebel rabbi talks about that. She says sometimes she's agnostic and she's a rabbi, and she said that there are rabbis that are atheists. So yeah, that's very interesting. Hey, Daniel, how are you?
Hello, I'm good. How are you?
Doing good. Did you have a question for Dr. Blitz this morning?
I did. Dr. Blitz, I'm a very big fan of yours. I love all the debates you have on the weekly. And my question's more on climate change. And I'm sure it's a hard topic to explain in a couple quick sentences, but do you feel like even with the U.S. going completely 180 and turning against climate change and just ignoring the fact that it is happening, that we will still be able to avoid the worst aspects of climate change when according to the scientists I follow, that we're running out of time to avoid the worst aspects of climate change?
Well, yeah. So if the U.S. started increasing its CO2 emissions like it was in the 80s and 90s, it started to drop off in the late 90s. But if the US was, increasing at like the exponential rate that it was doing up until then, I wouldn't be surprised if like this is not like if like we would not be able to avoid really any negative consequences, if only because it doesn't matter what the rest of the world does. If the US is pumping out billions of tons of CO2, that's CO2 entering the atmosphere. I mean, at the end of the day, the more CO2 is in the atmosphere, the warmer it will be. And if we keep adding more CO2 to the atmosphere, it'll just keep getting warmer and warmer, which will have more and more severe negative consequences. So yeah, I don't really think that we'd be able to avert. Well, okay, I guess there is the possibility that like other countries will take up the yoke and will go fully green and then also go carbon negative by pulling carbon out of the air, and maybe they could offset the United States' output. But yeah, I mean, like if that were to happen, obviously it would be a lot better if that were to happen and everybody else went green. But it would just slow down rather than stopping.
I appreciate that answer. And would it be all right to ask one more question?
Yeah, sure.
Yeah. Oh, I'm so sorry. I was checking YouTube, but yeah, absolutely.
And is the U.S. Army still the #1 polluter on the planet?
I have no idea. Okay. I've never heard that. I've never even heard that, but I wouldn't be surprised.
Okay.
Actually, well, when you say #1 polluter amongst what group?
Just no, like, in that opinion, I would just say militaries, I guess.
Oh, maybe, but we also spend like a ton of money on the military, so it wouldn't be surprising because we have like the biggest military, right?
Right. Well, I appreciate.
So yeah, I mean, amongst militaries, yeah, probably the U.S. I wouldn't be surprised if it was the biggest polluter, just because like we have tons of stuff.
Right. Well, I appreciate the answers. I appreciate your time.
Daniel, you can ask more questions if you want. There's nobody waiting in the guest box, and I'm really enjoying the conversation. If you have other questions, feel free.
All right. I do have to admit that I'm going to have to mute every once in a while. I'm an Amazon delivery driver, so I have to mute while I'm driving.
Yeah.
But so personally, Dr. Blitz, do you feel like with the direction that the U.S. is going, that we will curve the ship as a nation to go back towards climate change with the way Christian nationalism is rising and people are avoiding science and intellectualism and all that?
I don't know. I'm really doomer right now. So if you ask me now, I'd probably like, yeah, no, we're not gonna, we're not, they're probably, I've said it a lot to a lot of people that, the average empire lasts 250 years and 250 years is next year.
Yep. That's why I'm in therapy. I appreciate the answer.
Yeah, fair enough.
Hope you have a great day.
Likewise.
Thank you, Daniel. Thanks for being here. We really appreciate you.
Thank you.
Good morning, Garnet. How are you?
You hear me?
Yep.
Yeah.
Hi, Dr. Blitz. Hi, Crystal. Crystal, I saw there were some questions in the chat. Do you want to maybe ask some of those out loud real quick?
Oh, let me see. Let me look. Dr. Blitz, you're amazing. What are the difficulties with the idea that the supernatural can influence the natural?
Well, in principle, it depends on what you mean by the supernatural, right? So if by the supernatural you just mean like God, well, if God exists and God is all powerful, well, then there aren't difficulties. God can just do whatever he wants, right? But the thing is that we have laws of physics, right? And or laws of nature more generally, and we generally consider that those things are laws of nature if and only if they always hold true. right? We wouldn't call it the universal law of gravity if sometimes gravity just stopped working, right? We would call it the sometimes law of gravity, or we would call it the suggestion of gravity or something, right? So if you believe that laws of nature are genuine laws, meaning that they always hold, there's no exceptions, well, there's not really room for the supernatural, which is by definition not subject to natural laws, to have influence over the natural world, because that would be violating the natural laws that the world is already following. So it just depends on what you think natural laws are. But like, yeah, I mean, in principle, you could just say, well, this natural law has an exception for the supernatural, and therefore it's fine. I mean, like you can suppose anything. It's just the question of how coherent and how consistent the view will be at the end.
I have another question. This one comes from YouTube. Jackie says, I've come up with a good question for nominalist Blitz. If math is purely invented, how come it was obvious that the Gauss circle problem and the division of elliptic functions were related before?
The Gauss circle problem? I've never even heard of that. I don't even know what the Gauss circle problem is.
G-A-U-S-S?
Yeah, it's Gauss. They're referring to Carl Friedrich Gauss. It was a very famous mathematician.
Okay.
So the question was, why is it that the Gauss circle problem was connected to the elliptic integral or something like this?
Let me check again. How come it was obvious that the Gauss circle problem and the division of elliptic functions were related before?
I don't know if that's true. But look, I mean, this is getting at a deeper point, I think, namely that you can have like intuitions or even things that appear obvious without having proved them mathematically. And I think that that's not so surprising. Like you could imagine, for example, writing a program, right? You could write a program that you haven't run yet, but you could write a program that does something and still have an understanding of what the outcome will be. And I think that this is just because actually, a much better example would be something like this. Imagine that you're playing a game of chess, right? And you really, really understand the rules really well, but you've never played any chess games before. Well, it's possible, if you're clever enough, that through your understanding of the rules, you can understand, which positions are bad and which positions are good. But that doesn't mean that chess existed and that you had some intuition about something that existed. It just means that you understood the rules well. And so,
okay, hang on 1 second. I'm sorry.
Yeah, go ahead.
It's Jackie, you're saying there's a second part to your question. Can you just retype it? Because me scrolling back and trying to do this and trying to listen to him is a little difficult. So if you'll ask the second part again, I will make sure he understands there's a second part. I didn't know you had a two-parter. I'm so sorry. Apparently it was a two-parter. Anybody going to tell me the second part?
Yeah, I think the claim is that. Well, I don't see the second part of a question. I just see like a clarification of what the claim is that.
Okay.
That we knew that both problems had a place in the theory of abelian extensions, and so like I guess the point is that this is like when you say we knew, what it is that people had a strong intuition, right? I don't think it's really reasonable to say that we know something until you've proven it, at least mathematically. And so people had a strong intuition because they had a good grasp of like what these problems meant and what abelian extensions were and things like that. I think that we can have rules that lead to complex emergent phenomena, and then we can intuit that complex emergent stuff from the rules if you understand the rules well enough.
All right. Did that answer your question, Jackie? Let me know in the chat. Also, if you are wanting to join the conversation, you have to do it on YouTube. On TikTok. I don't have a link for you on YouTube. You can ask your questions on the YouTube chat, and I'll do my best to read them out. You can do the same on TikTok. The chat on TikTok goes a little bit faster, so sometimes it's hard for me to see, but you can absolutely do that. Earth, good morning. What is your question for Dr. Blitz this morning?
Hey. Okay, yes. So it's kind of like observation leading into a question. So one of the things that I really appreciate about your live streams, Dr. Blitz, is that it sort of helps. For me, it's a really good personal example of how when I'm sitting and I'm listening to someone that's extremely frustrating just for me personal, how you're able to maintain yourself and kind of like cut through that static and it's like you're able to get right to the heart of what is actually going on. And I've seen this happen in real time where the demeanor of the guest will absolutely do some kind of 180 or even a 90 degree and will just kind of go in a different direction. And so personal themes for me is curiosity, trying to maintain curiosity. But I wanted to get a little bit deeper, like when you're in those moments, do you have like sort of internal tools that you work with? How do you maintain that where you're able to just really cut through and sort of get to the heart of something? I want a little bit more in like, what's that secret sauce? Because I do want to step more into the debates, but I also, just in listening to debates and observing myself, I'm like, okay, so these kinds of questions really irk me. And these kinds of questions I know I have a lot of more patience for. But with you, I really see this just across the board. So how do you do that? If that's too broad, let me know. I can focus it in somehow.
No, it's fine. So I can think of an example that you're thinking about, and it happens a lot with when I do like the MAGA type lives. Generally most people when they come up, and this isn't true for everybody. And so so most people when they come up actually want to look good. They actually want to make a case and convince people, or at least feel like they succeeded at doing something. And so for most people, it's really straightforward just to, if you can hold your chill longer than they can, and then you can be like, look, like we can have a normal conversation here. We can talk about this like adults, and we can both express our ideas, or you can continue making yourself look stupid by like raging. That tends to like reset people's brains, just like kind of doing like the meta commentary, just be like, look, like I want to have a conversation. If you don't want to, you can keep raging and make yourself look bad. But that kind of thing will be like, oh yeah, I was coming in really hot and this person seems normal. And so sometimes people will just flip and just have like a normal conversation. And then if they have poor control of their emotions, they'll let it escalate again, and we have to do this several times. But that's usually, like, for most people are normal, and most people, even if they're passionate about things, will realize, especially if they're adults, that like they're getting way too heated for something that is otherwise a normal conversation. Now, some people, they just only want to do the rage content. They just only want to come and like yell slurs or like, say horribly atrocious things. And so then it's just a matter of like intentionally just being really dry and being really chill, because then you get to then they make your point for you, that they're like some lunatic person who is making their side look bad. And that's just a rhetorical win when that happens. And so if they don't want to turn the conversation around, it's really easy to to not lose your cool when you know you're winning and you know that they're making themselves look bad without you having to say anything.
Okay, that makes a lot of sense. So there's a tactic in naming and exposing it, like saying it outright, as you had said, look, if you want to have a conversation, XYZ, but also the tactic of even refraining from the metacon. That's also a tactic as well, and just allow the situation to be what it is.
Yeah, so I mean, generally I assume people come at me with good faith, but you can often get a read on the kind of person that somebody is pretty quickly. And so, I'll often try to like actually make a connection with the person and have a normal conversation. But if that fails the first time around, then I'm like, okay, yeah, they don't actually want to do that. They just want to have a shouting match, in which case it's really easy to just take advantage of them that way. And, when you say it that way, it's terrible, but just like take advantage of the fact that they have poor control of their emotion and make them look bad. Yeah,
well, and to be honest, that's really the commentary of cults is that it does make you vulnerable. It makes you vulnerable to manipulation, not just by the cult leader, but it makes you vulnerable to propaganda. It makes you vulnerable to a lot of things. So I think having a safe crucible where people can see that for themselves, even if they're not in a position to be able to internalize or register like, oh, hey, what I believe in doesn't cultivate the kind of integrity that I think I know that I have. That's a really good point. And also to that same end, there have been times where I've sat in a live where I'm just like, why the hell, like this, why do you get, but then it finally gets to the point where I see exactly what you're explaining here. And I'm like, oh, okay, that's why. So how quickly are you able to get this read? Because I feel like sometimes I can get that read fairly quickly, like how you're saying. But there have been other times I've listened to your live stream and I'm just like, I don't see what he sees in this conversation. Like, what is Dr. Blitz getting out of this? Like, how quickly are you able to do that assessment? Because for me, sometimes it's fairly quickly, but sometimes it takes me a long time to see what you're seeing. And then I get why the conversation is going on for as long as it is.
So often, so surely I'm not some like paragon of debate, whatever. Like I absolutely, and ADHD doesn't help with this, I absolutely get taken down the rabbit hole a lot. I mean, I try to never lose my cool, but like I will absolutely get taken down the rabbit hole in conversations that are just not interesting or not enlightening anyway. So that definitely happens. And it's something that I'm actively working on. Once it's become fairly evident that somebody is not interested in having like a serious conversation about something or like a normal chill conversation, I will often keep those people up so much longer because it's just content farming. Like I'm just like, it's free content for me to have some person who's like, the earth is flat, and then they like rant and rave for like 5 minutes. That's free content. They're making their own side look bad. I don't have to do anything about it. So yeah, I mean, that's often why I'll keep like the loonies on much longer, because people want to see that, and B, if more people see that, more people are less likely to take that position because the person looks like a nut job.
And no one wants to be alone. Okay, yeah. Okay. So then one final question, and I'll let everyone get on. What does self-care look like for you? Like what does that look like for you? I see boundaries. I see that very plainly. It's very, very rare, but I have seen times where you've had those hard blocks, like block this person, I don't care, I'm done, and, I see the boundaries like in your Discord, just the way it's structured, the way it's set up. So I know that that's a huge part of it. But I also have seen you with other accounts, like, for example, QTop. And, what does self-care look like for you when you're dealing with people that we know believe in some of the most atrocious, heinous kinds of things, as just like on a regular Tuesday? What does self-care look like for you so that every time you get back on, you're at that reset and you're able to keep that stability?
Yeah, so I don't actually really do anything active for it. Like to a fault, I am unintentionally good at compartmentalization in such a way that it bothers my wife, that like I'll just forget about something that bothered me the day before, and then like I just won't. I also have a very bad memory, like for these kinds of things. So it's like I wish I could offer you better advice. Be like, yeah, you make sure that you like debrief and things like. But like honestly, like I'll talk to QTop if something really bothers. Like I was talking to RC yesterday, and he said something about my wife, and I'm like, no, like you can just like go suck some eggs. And I'm like there are certain things where I'm just like, I'm just not going to tolerate it. You can say what you want about me. Don't say anything about my family. But generally speaking, like when the conversation's done, like, I don't know, it just doesn't bother me. I'm just done. Like, I mean, I might think poorly and like make fun of the person later, but like, it's not, it's rarely, I mean, I've never been in a conversation with somebody where I was like, oh, my mental health is like taxed. Like I need to go decompress or something. It just doesn't happen. And that's, I don't know what part of my psychology that just is that way. Maybe that's why I'm able to have conversations that would otherwise frustrate other people, but that's just, I don't do anything on purpose. It just happens.
Yeah. Yeah, understood. And I definitely understand that on a personal level, that compartmentalization. But all right, well, thank you so much. Thank you, Crystal, for hosting this. Thank you, Dr. Blitz,
Before
for
you
being
drop
here.
down, please plug your podcast. I'm going to be a guest on Earth Sanctuary's podcast with Tahir. Tell us about your podcast real quick before you drop down.
Yes, so our podcast is called Shattered Foundations, Reconstructed Self, and we are focused on sharing the stories, the deconstruction stories of the people in our community about what deconstruction looks like for you, whether your story is a long, involved kind of storyline, or whether it was a quick thing. We had one guest come up and he deconstructed when he was 5. He heard the story of Abraham and was like, yep, this isn't real. And that was it. So whatever that journey with religion looks like for you, we wanted to talk about what it's like to really undo the heavy social programming. What does it mean to navigate in a world that is designed and built up around these theological frameworks? And how do you reconstruct yourself once you realize that you no longer believe the things that either your family believed or your community believes, or maybe that you even bought into yourself on a personal level? So we do have, me and Tahir, we do have a TikTok page called Shattered Foundations. I think it's Shattered Foundations Reconstruct. I think it's the full thing, but we are in the Deconstruction Junction, YouTube, Shattered Foundations Reconstructed Self. If you want to reach out to us, we are shattered.foundations1 @gmail.com. Share your stories. You'll have a link that you can share with your friends, family, if you want to share your deconstruction story in this way. And it has been really, really, really cool to get to know.
It is
the
a really
stories of
great
people.
podcast.
Yeah.
Everybody comes from a different place, and it's really cool. I really, really enjoy it.
Yeah, it's awesome to listen to the different 44,000 flavors of denomination deconstructions that people are working through. And so we get very candid and open, but only to the extent that you're comfortable. And then we want to focus on what is your joy? What is your passion? How do you reconstruct yourself? What does it mean to be you in this world without dependence on false belief structures? So we want to celebrate those stories and bring those stories to the front, and also enable you to be able to share your story with other people.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for coming up. It's always a pleasure. You guys, that is Earth Sanctuary. Make sure you give her a follow. I have a question from chat for you, Dr. Blitz. It was asked a while ago, so I'm sorry it took a little while. Soldiers of Christ says, so why are your peers calling it fine-tuned?
So when physicists use the word fine-tuned, physicists, cosmologists, and so on, they're referring to something called the naturalness problem. And that is it's not quite fine-tuned in the sense of like, it's unlikely. It's fine-tuned in the sense of, we don't understand why it has this value rather than that value. So physicists tend to like a few different numbers. One of the numbers is 0. If something is close to 0, then we think it is 0 unless proven otherwise. And we also tend to think that if a number isn't 0, it should be 1. Because those are the two basic numbers that you have. Everything else is some combination of them, right? So the question then comes up is like, well, why is it that a good example would be like the Higgs-Vev. This is just technical jargon, but like the best example of the naturalness problem is, why is the Higgs-Vev so much smaller than the electroweak scale? It's smaller by like what, like several orders of magnitude anyway. And that's weird. It's like one would have expected, if you were just kind of guessing what these numbers should have been, you would have expected that like the number should be 1. And that's like a human guess, but like that's what people are referring to when we talk about fine tuning. We're saying like, yeah, this number, if you were just kind of guessing, it would be this other thing, but it's not. And so it seems like kind of unnatural. And so when people, that's exactly what people are referring to when we say fine tuning. Now, there are questions, like philosophical questions about fine tuning in like the religious sense or the philosophical sense. And that is a separate question, but that's not really what physicists are generally referring to.
Okay, awesome. Thank you so much. Russell, you've watched a few of these by now. This is not a debate space. It is a Q and A, and you're welcome to come up and ask Dr. Blitz a question. Everybody's welcome to come up. We just ask that you be respectful. We're not debating today. We're just talking to Dr. Blitz, asking him your questions. The guest box is open. If you have a question for Dr. Blitz, come on up. If you're too shy to come up, go ahead and type your question in the comments. I will try to read them out to him when I see them. Torquick, thank you so much for your patience. Did you have a question for Dr. Blitz this morning?
Yes. Hello, guys. So I do have a question. Dr. Blitz, so your content,
I don't think that person meant to come up. I went ahead and dropped them. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Okay, sorry. So your content is something that has been influencing me like ever since I found it, and I find it usually very interesting when there's someone who I suppose I look up to in an academic space who has a position that I disagree with. So obviously I'm not trying to debate you, but the question I'm going to pose, maybe I wanted to send at least me on a journey of self-reflection. So I wanted to ask. I personally am a mathematical realist, but yeah, it would be a follow-up from the previous question. Like, you believe that they are invented, right? If I understand you correctly, like mathematical concepts are invented.
Yeah, I do.
Okay, so at least for me, the reason I'm a realist is because I would believe that any mathematical proposition is true in every world, so to speak. And if they were constructed like socially, it would seem to me to follow from that there is a world in which we construct different mathematics. So like there's a world where, a society will make 1 + 1 = 3 instead of 2. So does that hold for you? Is that something you believe? We could come up with different forms of math, or?
Well, the thing is we do, right? I mean, the question is when you do mathematics, all you end up doing is you have a certain set of axioms and then you prove a bunch of theorems from those axioms, right? But if you choose a different set of axioms, you come to different conclusions. For example, you can have the axiom that, or you can essentially build an axiom on modular arithmetic rather than on natural arithmetic, and then you end up with, 15 plus 9 is, 2, depending on, what your modulus is. So we do this. And more than that, you can have sets of axioms that are mutually contradictory. And if it's the case that, every mathematical proposition is true for every set of axioms that you choose, well, then you have to accept that there can be true contradictions. And that's very puzzling to me.
Oh, okay. I see. So it's like, I guess for me, I thought these axioms that are chosen within, I guess, like certain mathematical practices, like I thought of them as like self-evident in the sense that even they can't like necessarily be true. Like to point for an example from logic, like the law of self-identity, or like of identification, A is A. I thought of that type of thing, like that sort of axiom, as something that just has to be true. There's no way it can't be.
So it may very well be the case that there are certain kinds of axioms that, as an agent, you have to believe, otherwise your experience would be incoherent. So it might be the case that every single thinking being accepts the axioms involved in like fundamental logic, for example. Even there are some people called dialetheists who accept that true contradictions can exist. But setting that aside, like thinking about the axiom of, or like the law of identity, if you will, it is in some sense an axiom. It might just be the case that as an agent, you are forced to believe that this is the case. But that doesn't mean that axiom is like true out there in the world. It might just be a part of being an agent. But as an example, or a counterexample. So there's something called the axiom of choice, which is well known to be independent of other standard axioms about numbers and so on. The axiom of choice is depending on the way that you think about it, it can either be obviously true or obviously false, right? And so there are people who will write papers assuming the axiom of choice, and there will be people who write papers assuming the axiom of choice is false. In which case, I mean, this is a good example of which one is it? Is it like self-evidently true? Is it self-evidently false? So the axiom of choice, just for those who don't know, is basically that if you're given any set, you can always just pick an element from each set. If you're given a collection of sets, rather, you can always pick an element from each of those sets. You can just pick one out. Now, if the collection is infinitely large, it gets a little bit unintuitive. But you could it's super intuitive to just think, yeah, of course you could always just pick one, right? But one of the implications of the axiom of choice is that if you have a sphere, you can chop it up into a finite number of pieces and reassemble it into two equally sized spheres as the original sphere. And that's super unintuitive. So, you know, there are some parts about it that are just super obvious and some parts about it that are like super obviously false. And so it's just not clear which one you should accept. And if you treat the whole thing as just a game of rules that we make up and those rules have implications, then now there's no issue with these, apparently seemingly contradictory intuitions that we have.
Oh, okay. I see. That makes sense. Thank you for the answers. Give me something to think about.
Thank you for coming up. We really appreciate it. I do have a question from chat. Lewis says, does consciousness need to be a part of the equation to fully understand quantum mechanics?
Oh no, you did the thing. They hit the third tower. No. I mean, and I should be super careful here. We don't know what quantum mechanics is really doing. Like, we don't know what like quantum mechanics is really saying. We have the math, and the math works perfectly, and everybody understands the math. But there's a whole bunch of different interpretations to make sense of what the math is saying about the real world. Surely the mathematics makes good predictions, but we don't know like what it means as far as the real world is concerned. And so there's questions about like, does consciousness play a role? If you ask most physicists, the majority, vast majority, will say, of course not. But there's a small contingent, it's like 5 or 6%, who will say, yeah, actually, I think that consciousness does play a role. And at this point in time, we just don't know. But as far as I'm concerned, there's not really, at least I haven't been given compelling evidence. I haven't seen compelling evidence that makes it so that consciousness is required to understand quantum mechanics.
Awesome. Thank you so much for answering that question. Forrest, good morning, friend. You said you got Dr. Blitz, and guess what, Forrest? I need you on the show too, so we gotta get together and look at the schedule, okay?
Yeah. No, I would. Yeah, I felt humbled the other day to get brought up by Thinker. Just a small guest, obviously, Dr. Blitz here, but just a few followers. But
yeah.
Yeah, no, I would just like to say, Dr. Blitz, I really admire your work, and I more admire.
You're too kind.
No, you are for being here, and Crystal's an amazing person. But I have to say, your level of patience is inspiring. I would never be able to attain that. The way that you deal with people with like the passion and compassion for the people that don't understand the things that you do is really admirable. I do have a couple of questions, though. Obviously, you know what I mean? Like, you're a pretty rational person. Were you ever a part of a religion at any point in your life?
I was raised Jewish, but I don't really have a memory of believing it ever. Okay. But also, for what it's worth, like, the type of Jewish I was raised was, it's the Reform movement, which is very compatible with like a whole lot of scientific stuff. It's very loosey-goosey on what God actually is. It's very loosey-goosey on, like, you know, how historical is the Hebrew Bible anyway. So like, if you were going to be partake in like some sort of religious community, I've often heard that like the Reformed Jewish community is probably the easiest one to fit in with if you're coming at something from like a scientific or rational basis, just because it's probably the easiest kind of large community, I should say.
When asked,
but yeah, no, as far as I know, I didn't really ever believe, but I definitely partook in like the culture and the traditions and things like that.
Okay, I got you. When asked about like I know how to deal with theists and like how they're like, well, how do you ground this information? I know how to deal with like tag and like presuppositionalists, but like, what would you say that your worldview is?
I generally say I'm a physicalist, but then if you ask me what physical things are, I'll just tell you it's what physicists study, which is really not satisfying. But like we have some intuition as to like what things are physical, and like this water bottle is physical. At least like it's pretty intuitively physical. And like my pen, you can't see what I'm pointing to. My pen is physical, and then like that star is physical. And when I say I'm a physicalist, I mean like the kinds of things that those things are. That's the kind of thing that is stuff. And then if you ask me about like what's logic and what's math, I'll be like, I'm a nominalist about everything else.
Okay, that's fair. What do you think is the most interesting project that like you're working on right now?
Let me open up my projects list. I have 3 things in peer review right now, and then 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 other projects that I'm currently working on. So probably the most interesting thing I'm working on right now, that'll be really boring for everybody else. So there's how do I want to explain this? There is a statement about, it's a math thing. So there's a statement about certain types of spaces. These are not spacetimes. These are spacetimes without time, if you will. And there's certain kinds of spaces. They're called Einstein spaces. And they basically are what a space would look like if there was no matter. There was no matter, there was no energy or anything. It's kind of empty. And so there's a project I'm working on with a few other people that is basically trying to put additional constraints on when you know that such a space is an Einstein space by looking at things like how curved it is and things like this.
And you said it's this matterless amount of time?
You can think of it as a matterless universe with no time.
Okay.
So think it's like purely geometrical. Think of like the kind of geometry that you would do in high school. It's not space-time, it's just space. Okay. But it's curved. And so there's interesting questions to be asked there. And it's a project I've been working on for, a few weeks now. And I find it interesting. Other people probably don't, but.
No, I mean, I think that, this is probably above the realm of what most people could get a grip on or could concern themselves with, like, mentally. But I appreciate you answering my questions, and I got to tell you that your show is infinitely enjoyable. And once again, I really
infinitely? Are you saying actual infinities exist now?
That's probably a good qualifying question. I can't tell you enough how much I just scrolled by, and I really want to thank you for being here on Crystal's Live, because this is going to do great things for us.
I appreciate that.
Absolutely.
Thank you so much, Forrest. And I'm not joking.
Yeah, no,
we
I
gotta
got you.
DM each other so we get you on the schedule, okay?
Absolutely. Thank you so much. And I appreciate you both.
Thank you so much for being here. I appreciate you, Forrest. I have a question again from the chat. Lewis says, do you think mathematics is discovered or invented?
Didn't we just have this conversation? Yeah, I think that it's invented.
I don't think that he heard that.
That's okay.
Yeah. Yeah, and Farrah, good morning. How are you today?
Good morning, I'm good.
Did you have a question?
I'm not sure. I was just trying to join and see what's going on. Sorry. Were you deconstructed or are you an atheist, or I'm just curious?
Me or Dr.
Oh.
You, Crystal.
I am deconstructed from Christianity, and my show is Decon Q and A with CrystalJae. Our guest today is Dr. Blitz. He's a physicist. And so we're asking the doctor some questions today.
Oh, okay. Sorry, I thought we were asking you questions.
No, that's okay. Thank you for coming up. I appreciate you being here.
Okay, thank you.
Hey, Algo, good morning. How are you?
Oh, good afternoon. I'm hanging there. How about yourself?
I'm doing great. I'm here with Dr. Blitz, so it's a great Saturday for me.
Always
I appreciate that.
Dr. Blitz. How are you doing, Dr. Blitz?
I'm A-okay.
Just had a couple of quick questions for you. One, what are your thoughts on the current line of thinking that our universe and all that's in it exists inside this gigantic, uber-sized, monolithic black hole?
It's funny you bring that up. I was literally just talking about that yesterday. So there's a whole story here. That story dates back to 1972 with an Indian physicist named Pathria. That was his last name. I don't remember his first name. It was very long. And it was a neat idea, like the data matched the hypothesis and stuff like this. And then we discovered dark energy, and that's basically been dead. That idea has basically been dead since the 90s. But then this guy, Leo Shamir, comes around. And to be clear, the claim there was that it was in a non-rotating black hole. And that's important for the story. Then this guy, Leo Shamir, comes out with a paper a few months ago and says, oh, the universe, some galaxies seem to be rotating more in one direction than in another. Fine. And then in the conclusion, or in the discussion section of this paper, he says, oh, well, maybe amongst, 8 other different explanations, he says, maybe it's because we're in a black hole. And then for some reason, the media picked this up and said, yes, scientists say that we're in a black, it's not, it's not scientists say we're in a black hole. And we're not even at the point scientifically where we can even call this a hypothesis, because nobody has formulated nobody has done the math to work out what we would expect to see if we were living in a rotating black hole. Nobody's done it. I've checked. I've done the Google Scholar deep dive. So this is to say, people think that if we're in a spinning black hole, then of course things would be spinning. But that's not obvious. We don't know what the observations should look like if we were in a spinning black hole. So you can't count anything as evidence because there's not even a hypothesis yet. So this is all to say, maybe we are, but there's absolutely no evidence to support it.
Gotcha. I didn't honestly know that there was such a thing as non-spinning black holes. So I guess I got to do some research today. Thank you for that.
Yeah.
Kind of along those lines, though, too. My other question was, what to you has been one of your most memorable or favorite scientific experiments? I'll give you an example. When I was a kid, because I chew crayons, but I was absolutely blown away when I first came in contact with oobleck.
Oobleck is really neat. So I'm a theorist, so I don't do a lot of experiments these days. However, one of the things that was really, really neat to do as an undergrad when I was in junior year, I think, was we were testing the photoelectric effect. Now, the photoelectric effect is a big deal because, well, let me describe what it is first. If you take a bright light and you shine it onto a piece of metal, sometimes electrons will just pop out. And so you can if you put one end of a battery on the piece of metal, and then you put the other end of the battery on some metal plate that's not touching the metal, but it's kind of in close contact with it, and then you shine a bright light on the metal, all of a sudden you'll see some current, which is very, very weird. Somehow shining light on the metal makes it so that the currents can jump from the metal to the the negative end of your battery, or whatever it is, or the positive end, I should say. And so that's weird. And in fact, the explanation for this, so even weirder still, is that if this doesn't happen, it doesn't matter how bright you make the light, it'll never happen. But if you change the color of the light, if you make it, instead of being red, if you make it blue, for example, you can make it happen at any brightness. So that's kind of weird. And this is important because this is one of the things that led to quantum mechanics. And it's in fact what Albert Einstein won his Nobel Prize for. So the fact that we were able to reproduce this kind of experiment and see this happen as, just an undergraduate in college was really, really neat. And I'll never forget looking at the screen and seeing the little spike of current passing through when you shine a light on a piece of metal. It was very, very cool.
That's cool.
All right. Thanks for your time. I thank you very much.
Hey, Elgo, somebody had a question for you in chat. They said, why is Bro speaking Texas?
Actually, I can tell you a lot of, I've got that fake preacher I do, Pastor Touche.
I know. I was thinking of that when he said that.
And if you go and watch enough televangelists, a good majority of them either come from the South or the West. So I just use this bizarre mashup of dialects. And so it kind of has a tendency to stick with me from time to time, and I can't get rid of it. but that would be my simple.
That's okay.
All right, thanks for having me up. Everybody be well.
Thanks for coming up, Alco. And we're going to play Divine or Decline later, so come up and play with us, okay? We have a question for me in chat, too. User says, how do you justify moral responsibility if everything is a result of prior physical cause? Well, I'm a determinist. I don't know. I kind of am a compatibilist, but I think I'm more of a determinist, so... I don't know.
It turns out, and I never thought about this until I spoke with Danny about it, but it turns out you can be a compatibilist and a determinist.
Okay, you can?
Yeah, so technically speaking, the compatibilist worldview is just the worldview that free will is compatible with determinism. It doesn't mean that you believe determinism is true, just that you think that if determinism is true, then compatibilism can be compatible, or then free will can be compatible with it. And so you can be both. Yeah,
okay, cool.
Yeah, you can be both.
All right, I like that.
Yeah, I mean, so there's determinism and there's non-determinism, and then there's compatibilism and anti-compatibilism. And these are kind of like on two separate axes.
All right. Well, that makes me feel a little bit better. Also, I'm sorry, Just Tucker, we'll get right to you. Lewis asks, which interpretation of quantum mechanics do you find most convincing? Many worlds, Copenhagen, ...
Yeah, I'm a many worlds kind of guy. And you have Sean Carroll to blame for that. If you're watching this and you don't know who Sean Carroll is and you care about science or physics or whatever, Sean Carroll is a genuine physicist. He works at Johns Hopkins University. The textbook that he wrote is where I learned general relativity. He's a brilliant guy, really good science communicator too. He's also a many worlds kind of guy, and he's written a book on it, and he has blog posts on it, and he's published papers on it as well. So he makes a really compelling argument for the many worlds interpretation, which is how I ended up here.
Very cool. Very cool. Just Tucker, did you have a question for Dr. Blitz this morning?
Yeah, I did. First off, big fan. Been watching you for a long time.
Thanks.
You were just doing flat Earth debates and whatnot.
What a time to be alive, right?
Yeah. Yeah. My question is so I see you go live with Ian and Justin quite often, and you guys mostly believe in all the same things, ideas and whatnot. What do you guys disagree on? And then also, through those conversations, have you changed your stance on anything through their arguments?
So, I don't actually know Justin's philosophical takes very well, because just when I say philosophical, I should say metaphysical takes, on ontology and epistemology and things like this, just because Justin doesn't talk about them a lot because he thinks that it's dumb. And to a certain extent, I agree. But Ian and I do disagree in that Ian is some sort of realist about some things, at least, whereas I'm they. We use preferred pronouns, right? Ian is a realist, I think, about logic at least, and I'm a nominalist. So we have different ontologies about what certain abstract objects are. And so we definitely disagree there. Have my views changed in some sense? So not in conversations with Ian and Justin, but in conversations with Danny. And if you don't know Danny, you should go find him. That's at Danny Phil Talk. But in conversations with Danny, I've come out more nominalist than I was before. And now I'm just full send down the nominalist train. As far as yeah, my views haven't really shifted all that much in conversations with Ian and Justin, except I might take a harder stance on biblical, I treat biblical claims with significantly more skepticism than I used to, because Justin has elucidated me on a lot of the different claims that are made and how they're not really valid. So that's probably the most that I've learned, and I've just become a lot more skeptical of some of these things.
Cool. Awesome. Thanks for taking my question.
Thanks for coming up. We appreciate you. You guys, if you have a question for Dr. Blitz, the guest box is open. If you're too shy to come up, remember you can ask your questions in chat. I'll be happy to read them out. Also, you can ask over on YouTube. Just tag the Deconstruction Junction YouTube account. I can see it. I'm logged in. You guys, we have a little flash goal going on right now for subscribers. And in the next 3 minutes, I just need 3 more subscribers. It's less than a cup of coffee a month. So subscribe because, you know, I'm a nice lady and I entertain you. So do the thing, you know. Hey, Nor Guy, how are you this morning?
Hey, I'm doing great. How are you?
Doing good. Did you have a question for Dr. Blitz today?
Yeah. I just I'm an atheist, but I was thinking we keep on hearing like about like, you know, we for the fine tuning army, we keep hearing that like there's a probability because we think that the constants could be different and we don't know that the constants could be different. Sorry, I have to teak up for 1 second. And then, so I was wondering, is there a model where you could just like proportionally change all the constants and the forces to where the universe would just act the same? Because I feel like that would put it to bed, but I imagine physicists would have thought of this before I did.
So, to an extent, there is a. So what is true, if you're talking about compatibility with life, and I've seen this talked about elsewhere, is that they're like, if you think of the fundamental constants, if they're truly fundamental, if you think of them as each individual knobs, then generally leaving all of them fixed and changing one will, it won't take very much change there to make the universe not compatible for life. Now, it might be like a few orders of magnitude, but if it starts off really, really small, going from like, you know, 1 part in 10 million to, you know, 0.4, then you'll quickly lose compatibility with life. However, it's been studied, it's been shown at least that if you're allowed to turn more than one knob at once, you can actually turn them quite a lot until you get and kind of stay in this like compatible with life range. So to a certain extent, it's not true that if you scale them all by the same amount that you'll keep the compatibility with life. But there's like a notion like that where you can kind of like tweak several of them together by a pretty big margin and you can still keep things, you know, roughly as normal. So there's definitely that.
Okay,
but the question about like,
I'm sorry.
Yeah, somebody has worked that out, definitely. But the question about like the whole probability business, there is something to be said that like we just don't know how these things could be different. And sometimes I lean towards the idea that like, well, maybe they're just like fundamentally geometric or whatever, in the same way that like pi, you know, in Euclidean space, pi is like 3.14 and so on. And it couldn't have been anything else. That's just like a consequence of being in like flat space. And so in some sense, it seems like that, you know, it's not like pi was fine-tuned, right? So I kind of lean, at least on some days, I feel like, well, maybe nothing's fine-tuned. Maybe it's like pi. Maybe it just had to be that way.
Almost like it's a consequence of what it is. Like pi is just what the diameter has to be. So universes just might have to have this property. And we have no way to know and without having a sample size more than one. All right, that was super enlightening. Thank you very much.
Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you for coming up. We appreciate you. I have a question from, I have 2 questions. I have one over here on TikTok. This is, when is unapologetic live streaming next?
Oh, I already answered that in the comments. It's tomorrow morning at our usual time.
Okay.
I think it's just going to be me and Ian, but.
Okay. And also over on YouTube, we have, do you think the fine structure constant alpha is exactly equal to 1/137?
No, it's not. Like it's just not. And we know it's not because we know what it is. In fact, the fine structure constant is, let me read it out. It is 1/137.035999177.
All right.
And like we can calculate this with like, you'd be surprised, but some people have this tattooed on them.
Oh no!
It's arguably
yet, but that would probably not be it.
It's like arguably one of the most important numbers in physics. So like people definitely have it tattooed.
Oh well, then if I was a physicist, I would probably do that. Then that would be my tattoo for sure.
Fair. Fair.
I have one more question, and then we'll get to you, Poppy. It says, can you please help me debate the gravity holds gas in the atmosphere even though space is a vacuum?
Yeah, so this is a common flat earth thing, and it's super funny because it just relies on like a misunderstanding of what the globe is actually about. So flat earthers will be like, well, space is a vacuum and there's air here. So like, why isn't the vacuum sucking the air out? Well, first of all, vacuums don't suck. Other pressure blows, but that's setting it aside. It's just an incorrect view of like what the world is. We all know that if you climb to higher and higher altitude, the air gets thinner and thinner, right? The reason why they have to pressurize airplanes is because you can't breathe out there because the air is so thin. So all that's happening on in the real world is that you have high pressure, high density at near the surface at sea level, and then it just gets thinner and thinner until it's indistinguishable from a vacuum. There's never some place where there's a vacuum next to high pressure environment. It's just a constant gradient, and it's always just this constant gradient. Now, the reason why that there is a constant gradient, well, that's explainable via gravity. And if they ask, well, how is the gravity keeping the gas in? Well, all you have to do is tell them that gravity is just another force, and all a container is just a bunch of forces keeping a gas in. We can control gases and contain gases, or plasmas really, with magnets. Why shouldn't gravity be able to do that?
Absolutely. Puffy, good morning. Welcome to the show. Did you have a question for Dr. Blitz this morning?
Yes, I did. I was overhearing Dr. Blitz's like I think it was a stance on metaphysics about like nominalism. So I was curious, Dr. Blitz, what stance do you hold to in like metaethics? What's your framework on that?
Generally, I'm an anti-realist. And so I just take the position that like, look, I have certain stances, I have certain values. For whatever reason I have these, maybe it's partly genetic, maybe it's partly environment, but these are things that I care about. And so when I see something that doesn't align with those stances, I call it bad. When I see something that does align with those stances, I call it good. I don't know if like, I guess like some people would call this just like appraiser relativism. I think that it's not quite the same as emotivism, but it's, I suppose it's closely related. Generally, my view is like, look, people have views about things. They have like preferences, they have values, and that's how people come to ethical positions.
Okay, gotcha. Thank you so much, Dr. Blitz.
Yeah, of course.
Thank you for coming up. We appreciate you so much. You guys, the guest box is open. If you have a question for Dr. Blitz, just come on up. We're only doing the live questions on TikTok, but you can also put your questions in the chat over on YouTube, or you could put them here. I do have a question over here from Ashtaroth. Why is Pi Day more popular than E Day? Justice for Euler.
Well, that's because pi is a better number. Yeah, pi is just a better number. Pi shows up in more places than E does, probably. That's probably true.
Okay, and then I have another question over on YouTube. Dr. Blitz, has Ian convinced you of objective morals yet?
No, and I will go down with my nominalist ship.
Yeah, I was talking to somebody in the Deconstruction Junction Discord, and I did not realize that Ian believed that there was, objective morals. And so he said, I think Justin and Ian should debate this. And I said, why would they debate that? And that's when I found out. I was like, oh, I didn't know that. And
so here's a secret. Here's a secret. I don't actually know if Ian actually believes it. However, Ian is unscrupulous when it comes to debates and is happy to Ian is like, if you guys don't know this, Ian is like a genuine debate lord. They were like top 3 in the country in like high school or college debate or something like this. So like this is absolutely a thing that Ian is happy to defend a view that sounds good and is easy to defend and is rhetorically strong, even if they don't believe it. Now, I'm not saying that Ian doesn't believe it, but surely I don't think Ian is nearly as confident about it. It's just really, really strong rhetorically when you can run the reverse problem of morality. So I don't actually know. What Ian actually believes. I suspect that they're significantly less sure of things than than they seem when they're doing debates, though.
Yeah, I can see that. Another question from chat: does a black hole delete information?
Probably not. At least that seems to be the consensus. So again, for those who don't know, there was this big problem in the 80s, I guess, maybe 70s, where if you trust quantum mechanics, there's like this idea that anything that happens quantum mechanically can kind of be undone as long as no measurements are made. Like it's always like perfectly reversible, right? If you know what it is now, you'll know exactly how it'll be in the future. And if you know how it is now, you'll know exactly how it was in the past. And this is kind of like a requirement for quantum mechanics to work. But then if you suppose that black holes also exist and you can throw a quantum mechanical thing into the black hole, then somehow you're like deleting information that you might have needed to reconstruct what the universe used to be like. And so there's this question, it's called the black hole information paradox, of like, well, if quantum mechanics is true and if general relativity is true, how can you delete information? How does this work? And it's generally believed that the problem has been solved in the form of something called like the page curve, and the page curve as it relates to Hawking radiation. This was a whole thing with like Stephen Hawking and other kind of people in that same group. It's generally believed that it's been solved by even just semi-classically with Hawking radiation, but there are other proposed solutions as well. Generally, though, most people think that no, information is not deleted.
So before I read you the next question, I'm going to tell you a little story about me. I was, a devout right-wing Christian conservative. I was
I'm sorry for your loss.
The antithesis of who I am today. But at the time, I was a right-wing conservative Christian. I, told you that I, read and listened to Ken Ham, and he is one of the reasons I am no longer a Christian, because he says something when you're going through, like, we had his study books, we had his video, we had it all. Like I said, the only thing I didn't do was go to the Ark, okay? And because actually, I don't know. I think I was always questioning all of this, but I just wasn't brave enough when I was younger. And he said that Genesis is the foundation of the religion, and that if Genesis isn't true, then none of it is true. And I just want to thank him for saying that, because that's how I realized that none of it is true. But that being said, Dr. Blitz, what do you think about answers in Genesis? That's the question for you.
I think unfortunately, it gives off an air of authority. And I think that people, well-meaning people, can find themselves on answers in Genesis and then just read it, and it sounds sciencey, it sounds believable, so they just end up believing it. So I think it's actually like super sinister, because they're using the language of scientific rigor to sell nonsense. That said, I mean, in some sense, Christianity really does fall apart if Genesis chapter 3 is false, right? If Eve didn't actually exist and didn't actually eat from the tree of knowledge, right? If none of that happened, then there is no original sin, and so Jesus didn't need to die for everybody, right? So right. It is true. Ken Ham makes a good point. If Genesis chapter 3 is false, then Christianity is false as well.
Right.
At least interpreted literally, like the requirement why Jesus had to die and all of this stuff, which like a lot of Christians don't think that the Garden of Eden happened, at least like the reasonable ones don't. But almost every Christian thinks that, yes, everybody has original sin, and that's why Jesus needed to die for us. And so those two views are not compatible, though. So at least not in like a traditional reading. Now they could say, oh, well, we have original sin. That was just a metaphor for how we all, how we all metaphorically bit from the tree of knowledge of good and evil. But like, yeah, at that point you're just stretching it. So. Right.
We also have another question from chat. Is there anything outside our observable universe?
Probably. I mean, like, look, for the most part, regardless of which direction you look in, the universe looks basically the same. There's galaxies in all the directions. They're basically uniformly distributed. And so it would be very, very weird if for some reason there just were no galaxies beyond the observable universe and it just stopped, especially because it doesn't look like we're in a special place. Like everything looks basically the same. So why would the observable universe be why would the universe as a whole be centered around us? Now, can we prove that? Probably not. Can we prove that there's something outside the observable universe? Maybe very indirectly, but it is called the observable universe for a reason. So
true. Do you believe the universe is ultimately governed by a simple theory or a chaotic mess?
Oh, I don't know. I mean, I take issue with the word governed, but setting that aside, as somebody who's generally like overwhelmingly optimistic, despite the current situation that we're in right now, I like to think that humans are really, really smart. Like we're really, really smart. And not just smart because we know a lot of things, but smart because we've been able to figure out a lot of things. And it could be the case that we will never have like a theory of everything, if you will, in which case maybe we're just not smart enough to understand the ultimate, fundamental principles that describe our universe. But it does seem like the simpler we get, the more we zoom in, the more kind of the nicer things look. Like everything kind of simplifies because you're studying smaller and smaller and more fundamental things. So I suspect that there probably is some sort of kind of fundamental set of principles or something like this. Whether humans are smart enough to ever figure it out, I really, really hope we are. But maybe we're like a fish in that, try as you might, you can never teach a fish calculus. Maybe try as you might, you can never teach a human the theory of everything.
Yeah, that's a good way to look at it. What made you decide to go into this specific field of study?
Oh, because black holes were really cool, and I saw them on the internet when I was like 8. I saw like an artist depiction, on like Google Images or whatever. It was literally that.
You figure it out when you're 8.
Well, yeah, I'm like, whoa, that's so cool. And then
I don't know what I want to be when I grow up.
I saw the picture. I'm like, that's so cool. And then I started Googling it. And then I found some books by Brian Greene and Michio Kaku. And I read those. And I'm like, this is so cool. And then I watched a PBS special. I'm like, that's so cool. So that's basically what happened.
That's cool. Funny Sheep in Debt says, I thought gravity was a consequence rather than a force.
It depends on what you mean, what a force is, right? I mean, like, in some sense, if by force we just mean whatever makes something not move in a straight line, well, now we have to talk about what's a straight line, right? So the way that we describe gravity today is in terms of the curvature of space-time. And what that does is essentially makes the straight lines be bendy, or makes I think that's the right way to phrase it. When I say straight, I mean like you can travel along them without turning. And it makes those be bendy, or what would look bendy if you didn't know what space-time was doing. So in that sense, yeah, gravity is just the curvature of space-time. And not enough people know this, because it's really not something you learn until like grad school in physics. But the other fundamental forces, like electromagnetism, the strong nuclear force, the weak nuclear force, these are also curvatures. These are the warping of something else. We describe them like there's a technical term. These are the curvatures of principal gauge bundles. But they are absolutely geometric phenomena, and it's a result of those geometric phenomena that we see the force of electromagnetism, the force of quantum chromodynamics, and so on. So yeah, those are absolutely geometric too. They're just not universal, so they don't behave as like it's harder to see them geometrically because electromagnetism only makes the space-time appear curved for charged things. For uncharged things, they don't see the extra curvature that the electromagnetism introduces.
Okay. In a minute, you guys are going to hear some noise in the background. I'll try to mute up when Dr. Blitz is talking, but that's because it's coffee time for my daughter. So if anybody wants an espresso, she's making them right now. Put your orders in. Shays also says, how do virtual particles exist if they don't exist?
Oh, they don't exist. They don't. They're made up. Hooey. Mathematical farce.
What determines a limit to how many worlds?
Well, okay, this is talking about the many worlds interpretation. So for those who don't know, the many worlds interpretation is a way of understanding quantum mechanics, and kind of like the standard pop science way of describing it is something like, oh, well, every time a quantum thing is measured, the world branches, and there's like one world where you measure one thing and another world where you measure the other thing. And like, that's good. That's like a fine description for like really simple systems that you don't think about too much, but like, it's not really accurate. In the many worlds interpretation, there's just one thing. It's the wave function. And the wave function occupies, or the wave function takes on a certain state. And the way that that state evolves depends on the various things that are happening in the world, for example. And because of the way that we understand the world, that we think about it in terms of like these macroscopic things that are separated by distance and like we have a single conscious experience, for example. And so we kind of, the worlds of the many worlds are really like constructs that we produce to try to better understand what's going on, but they're not like really there. There's nothing like, there's no fundamental thing separating worlds. If this interpretation is true, it's more of like it's like a subjective thing of the way that like an agent can understand the world.
Okay, so a follow-up question from Carlos is, does determinism and many worlds make it possible to simulate a local contained reality?
No. If I understood the question right, no.
Okay. Dirty, how are you today? Welcome to the show. Did you have a question for Dr. Blitz this morning?
Good morning, Crystal. Good morning, Dr. Blitz. Yes, I sure did. Dr. Blitz, many years ago, I had read an article, and I know this isn't the title, but it was something to the effect of visualizing automotive emissions. And, it basically was a layman's way of kind of, picturing, what so many miles of driving emits into the atmosphere as far as carbon gases. And the assumptions were, an average, mile per gallon of around 25 miles per gallon. The weight of gasoline being, somewhere around 6.5 pounds, I believe. And a combustion efficiency in an internal combustion engine of about 30%. And, kind of going through the math in the article, they were saying, roughly for every 50 miles a vehicle is driven at that, average fuel economy, it's essentially pooping out a 10-pound bag of, charcoal. And I wanted to get, in gaseous form, of course, I wanted to get your input on that.
Well, I mean, yeah, like it's basically true. The gasoline ceases to exist and it turns into various compounds, right? If the gasoline is basically just a bunch of carbon atoms stringed together with some hydrogen stuck on the end, then, and that's roughly what a hydrocarbon is, hence the name hydrocarbon. When you break it apart and you combine it with oxygen, some of those hydrogen atoms will combine with oxygen. Some of those carbon atoms will combine with oxygen, and you'll end up with various compounds, some of which will be basically just pure CO. I mean, one of those compounds is pure CO2. There will be some other compounds that are also created. But yeah, I mean, like in some sense, all of that mass has to go out the tailpipe. And if you're burning efficiently, you have like a good engine, you want as much of it to be combusted into CO2 because CO2 is the most stable of these kind of emission things. And so, you'll produce that because it'll give you the most energy, the most bang for your buck, if you will. So yeah, almost all of it will be carbon dioxide, basically.
I mean, so is there assumption that, the equivalent of a 10-pound bag of charcoal every 15 minutes or 50 miles, pretty accurate?
I mean, I'd have to do the math myself, but like, yeah, that's the kind of thing that's plausible to me. Yeah.
Okay. That was my question. Thank you both very much. Have a great day.
Of course.
Oh, I was muted. Thank you so much for coming up. I really appreciate you, Dirty. We have another question in the chat. Listen, if you spam your questions, you're going to get muted. So don't spam them. I'm doing my best to read them, get to them as quickly as possible. And some of them, you guys are spamming that he answers, and then you still spam it again. So listen for his answers, okay? How is branching defined in Hilbert space in the many worlds interpretation?
Yeah, so it's not. There is no branching in the Hilbert space. What's happening is that you have, and this is specifically for that one person because I'm going to use technical language to convey the ideas. So everybody else, if you want to, you can close your ears and it won't matter. But don't. You should listen anyway. Anyway, so the wave function is going to be in some state of the Hilbert. The wave function will be in some state. It's in the Hilbert space, and there will be certain basis. There will be being a Hilbert space, it has perhaps an infinite dimensional dimensional set of basis vectors. And some of those basis vectors will, I mean, you can always choose different bases, but if you choose the right basis where each basis vector corresponds to some macroscopic state of the universe, then what you're doing when you say that there is different branches of the universe is you're saying, look, you have a vector that's in a superposition of multiple different macroscopic states. And because they're basis vectors, they're orthogonal, and orthogonal states in quantum mechanics can't interact with each other. And so those two components of the wave function that live in say 2 or a million or a trillion or whatever different orthogonal basis vectors that correspond to macroscopic states, those are essentially different worlds, if only because they're two different pieces of the wave function that can't communicate with each other.
Okay. Also, I have in laws of nature, if laws of nature are computable and consciousness is natural, why can't we simulate it?
Why can't we simulate consciousness? Well, perhaps you can.
I think so.
Yeah, I mean, maybe you can. Like human brains are just really, really complicated. So it wouldn't be surprised, considering we've only had computers, we've only had genuine microchip computers for 50 years. It wouldn't be surprising if we can't simulate the human brain yet.
Okay, well, Bunny, welcome up to the show. I had to mute you, so you'll have to unmute. Did you have a question for Dr. Blitz this morning? I'll send you an invite to unmute. Are you with us? I have another question, Chad. I'll ask you real quick while Funny figures out where the unmute button is.
Okay, I figured it out. I'll wait for your question. I can wait for your question.
Okay, I'll read it real quick. Would a photon see a gravitational curve, or does its trajectory appear straight to it?
It's a good question. So nothing sees gravitational curvature unless you have memory and you can compare where you were and where you are and things like this. But you never experience curvature. And that's true whether you're a photon or whether you're a person. You will never experience curvature. What you will experience is that maybe you'll end up going around something in an orbit, but how do you know that's just not straight, right? I mean, the thing about curvature is that it's by definition, it cannot be measured at a point. You need to measure several points around it in order to figure out how those points relate to each other spatially and temporally.
Okay, Funny, welcome to the show.
Can you hear me?
Yes, I sure can.
Hey, Dr. Blitz, I love your content. I try to watch your lives whenever I can. I appreciate what you do.
Well, thanks.
Sure. In one of your recent lives, I heard you say that the math supports the possibility that the universe has existed forever. Am I correct with that?
Yep.
So I have a question. So let's say you take the space between two objects anywhere, I don't know, the Earth and the Moon, and you remove everything from that space, all quarks, all quantum mechanics, you remove everything. What is the leading theory or your speculation as to what that is, other than just space? Is there one?
Well, so the trouble is that I guess there's kind of two ways to take it. On the one hand, you could just take it throw out all of quantum mechanics. Just throw it all out, and then just imagine that there's no stuff in there, no classical stuff in there. If that's the case, it's just space. But the question of what space is, you could define it relationally and just say space is that which allows you to measure distances. But on the other hand, even if you remove all of the quarks, even if you remove all the protons, the neutrons, the photons, whatever, from space, there will still always be the fundamental fields occupying it. And this is to say that if you take a charged thing and you put it in this empty space or put it just outside this empty space, the electric field will still exist in the otherwise empty space because the field exists there, and so the field can change there. So yeah, I mean, this is to say it's not really like a question that has a lot of meaning, because if you throw out quantum mechanics, well, then you may as well just be doing science fiction, right? And if you don't throw out quantum mechanics, then it doesn't even really make sense to talk about empty space.
So is the thought that the universe could possibly have existed forever is the same as saying that quantum mechanics could possibly have existed forever?
Oh, yeah. This is like the kinds of calculations that people do rely on like quantum mechanics or, it's more sophisticated equivalents.
Okay. That was my question. I appreciate it.
Yeah, of course.
And everything
Thank
you
you
do.
so much. We appreciate it. I have a question from chat, but sometimes I don't understand what they're saying, so I'm just read it anyway, okay? What do you call consciousness? I'm gonna guess you call it consciousness, but I'm not.
Yeah, I mean, English is my first language, so that's what I call it.
If conscious agents can be simulated, couldn't we simulate a contained version of reality for them?
Oh, I suppose, but yeah, okay, so the question is could you simulate someone's conscious experiences? In some sense, sure, you could trick someone, and if they didn't look very carefully, they'd probably never notice. But there are computational limits, namely, like there's various things about how much energy it takes to simulate things at a smaller and smaller scale, right? Like, of course, you need better and better processors, more and more, it takes more and more power. And so, if the person's conscious experience that you were simulating, if the external world that you were simulating for them was like if you weren't controlling their behavior, then like who's to stop them from building a particle accelerator in your simulation? And now you have to simulate quantum field theory, and like that, maybe you don't have the computational power for that.
Okay, I'm going to read another question. This one's from YouTube. I just might pronounce this wrong. So, we are DNA. Don't get mad at me, okay? Dr. Blitz, have you heard the song Cygnus X-1 by Rush? The main character flies into a black hole and part 2 hemispheres. You find out what happens to him.
I have not. I've heard of it. I haven't heard the song. But yeah, if I remember correctly, there was somebody in Rush who was interested in like space or something, right? I think. So yeah, it's not so surprising that it exists.
Also on the chat we have, if all outcomes happen in the many worlds interpretation, what does probability mean?
This is the hard question when it comes to the many worlds interpretation. And so depending on who you ask, you'll get different answers. What Sean Carroll says, and I kind of take this view, is that probability is about us not knowing which branch of the universe we're in. Namely, because we have one conscious experience, the conscious experience isn't shared across all branches. And so we have every single one of the conscious experiences that exist in all of the branches will ask, oh, well, which one of the branches am I in? Well, technically you're in all of them, but because they're separate, they all have to answer the question. It would be like, what would be a good example? Yeah, so let's say you're playing cards and you get dealt a hand, right? You're definitely going to have cards. You're definitely going to have cards, and those cards will definitely be 1 through or 2 through 10. There will be aces, kings, jacks, queens, whatever. You'll definitely have cards, but you don't know what those cards are. That doesn't mean that those cards are random. It just means that you lack information about which things you've been dealt. And so the way that at least Sean Carroll views it, and the way that I think is probably right, is that it's more about he uses the phrase self-locating uncertainty. You don't know which branch you found yourself in. And so that's what the probability reflects. It reflects your knowledge of, or how good your knowledge is at predicting which branch you will actually be in.
Okay. Also, Carlos has a question. He says, can many worlds be falsifiable?
Yeah, just prove that the Schrodinger equation doesn't hold.
Okay.
It's hard. It's hard to do, but yeah, do that.
Also, Drago says he's the one who asked about consciousness, and now he's clarifying. What does consciousness mean to you?
I don't know. I don't have a really good understanding of theory of mind. I have thoughts about what, but like I don't even think that people have good definitions of consciousness. So yeah, I try not to talk about it because it's just I don't think anybody really knows what they're talking about.
Okay, and yet there's another question on it. Is a virus conscious?
No. Whatever consciousness is, well, maybe. I mean, if consciousness is something that everything has, then sure. But otherwise, I think whatever consciousness is, it's something that requires a brain or something like it.
Yeah, exactly. All right, you guys, if you have questions for Dr. Blitz, the guest box is open. Thank you for 68,000 likes. Thank you for all the new subbies. If you're a subscriber, drop some stickers down in the chat so people can see the fun stickers we have. I also have a Discord. The link is in my bio. And of course, don't forget to join the Deconstruction Junction Discord. We are a large community, getting close to 5,000 members now of people who have deconstructed or are helping others deconstruct from harmful religions. So join the Deconstruction Junction Discord today. Also, if you are over on the YouTubes, could you please go subscribe to my channel? It's absolutely free. I am CrystalJae, all one word. And J is Jae. And yeah, I am so close to my 500 subscribers over there, and I'd really love it if you guys could help me reach that goal. Ashira, how are you today?
I'm good. Thanks for having me up, Crystal. How are you?
I'm doing good. Did you have a question for Dr. Blitz this morning?
I do. Hi, Dr. Blitz. I was just wondering, I usually check in on your lives about Trump and the MAGAs not having an understanding of science. So that's what this is kind of based on. Do you have hope that humanity will kind of recover from everything that he's doing and all the things that are happening right now? Like maybe not in America, but like somewhere else, and if another country is likely to take over kind of where we used to be, what country do you think that might be?
Yeah, so I think humanity will be fine. I mean, humanity survived a lot worse. There are nukes involved now potentially, which maybe signals the end of humanity. But I don't think humanity is going anywhere anytime soon because of Trump. Now, there might be other reasons why we cease to exist, but yeah, I think humanity will be fine. Certainly not the United States. The United States has the kind of damage that's been done amongst the scientific community and the trust in institutions. It will take decades to undo. But there are other places. Europe's not a single country, but Europe seems to be doing all right. But more realistically, it seems like China will probably become the dominant player here. And the only thing that they're really missing is kind of like a reform with regards to speech laws, because, a lot of scientists would be happy to go to China and work there because they're offering really, really good deals. It's just a lot of people are hesitant because, academic freedom and all that and kind of requires free speech. So, yeah, I mean, it will be fine. The question is will it be China or will it be some stronger European Union? That's a different question.
Okay, thank you so much.
Yeah, sure. Thank you for coming up. Carlos has another question in chat, and I am going to say these words and spell them because I don't know if you say them or spell them. I'm curious to hear your thoughts about Penrose's or ORCHOR.
So Penrose's idea is that gravity. There's kind of two ideas here. Penrose has this cute idea that gravity is the cause of quantum mechanical collapse. It's a fine idea. You propose it, talk about it, see if it makes any good predictions. And then he also has this kind of separate idea that as a result of that quantum mechanical collapse, which is uncomputable because it's probabilistic in nature, and so it's not something you can compute, maybe this is the source of apparent free will in humans. Because, you have tiny, tiny little gravitational perturbations, and maybe this gives rise to some sort of collapse mechanism in the brain. And those are kind of two very separate ideas. So the possibility of gravitationally induced collapse for quantum mechanics is sorry, one second. Sorry, I just had to shut the door. the idea of gravitationally induced quantum mechanical collapse, I think that's an interesting idea. Then following that up with, this must be the source of consciousness, I think that's less serious. And I don't even think that Penrose takes all of it so seriously. That guy, what was his name? Stuart Hameroff, has kind of taken the idea and ran with it and kind of just kept Penrose's name attached to it for the last 20 years, even though he's kind of like not being as serious about it, I guess. So yeah, generally I don't think it's likely to be true, but at least the collapse part I think is at least interesting.
I think that's very interesting. You guys, the guest box is open. If you have any questions for Dr. Blitz, come on up. If you have questions over on YouTube, ask your questions in chat. You could tag Deconstruction Junction. I am logged in over there. So go ahead and ask your questions over there as well. And I need some friendlies to come up because very soon we're going to play everybody's favorite game that I made up called Divine or Decline. And we're not going to leave Dr. Blitz up here to play alone. So y'all put your requests in the guest box so we can get you up here for the game. Where did you go to school, if you want to share?
I don't want to share. I went to a big university for undergrad. Let's put it that way.
Okay. And what was your we've got guests, so I don't have to come up with the questions. They're coming up to either play or ask questions because I think that Grandma is up here to play a game with us.
Yeah.
Or did you have another question? Okay. Fluffy,
me,
did
I
you
could
have
go
a
on all
question?
day, but I'll just play.
Fluffy, did you have a question for Dr. Blitz?
Nope, I just heard game and I'm like,
okay, yes. All right. We're going to play the game in just a few minutes. I'm not going to do that either, Gray. I realized as soon as I started to say it, I was like, don't ask that question either. But if you guys have questions and you don't want to come up, you can ask them in chat. Also, if you are over on YouTube, you can ask them over there as well. So you were very young when you decided that that's what you wanted to do. We got another guest request. This might be for the game, so we might just start getting to the game. Dr. Blitz, were you here when we played with Ian, Divine or Decline?
I don't think so. So I don't know the rules.
Okay. All right, I'm going to tell you the rules. It's a fun game. Wait, let's see. We have one more guest coming up. Let's see if Matlock has an actual question. Etc. Did you come up to ask a question or play the game?
Well, I have a question.
Go ahead.
And hopefully somebody didn't talk about this already because I missed the start of the live. But on a show recently, Mezzo spoke about a new thing he read that in the eternal crunches and bangs or expansions, there's a theory that each new expansion could have different constants, like the law of gravity could be different, which would alter like the whole path of the universe, right? And I'm wondering, Dr. Blitz, if you've heard about this or if you have thoughts that like each round of the universe could have different constants.
So I am not familiar with the thing specifically that Mezzo was talking about. That said, there are some ideas that I've heard of that are similar to that. Generally speaking, though, it's not really a cycle if it doesn't repeat itself, right? So that would be more of just kind of a sequence of events, and then you still have, So okay, let me back up. There are things that I've heard of that are similar to that. Maybe there's something new that came out recently, some new model that somebody put forward that has that. If so, I haven't seen it.
Okay. I had never heard of that before either, and it was very interesting to me. Just the thought of like, oh, maybe each iteration is a little different, which would, I don't know, it would have so many different implications. Maybe there's a version of the universe where life is much more prevalent than the one we're in, or maybe much less.
Sure.
I don't know. Something fun to think about.
Yeah.
Matlock, did you have a question for Dr. Blitz?
Hi there. Yes, I do. Just want to say, Dr. Blitz, first-time caller, long-time listener.
Thank
And
you.
to Crystal, for the times where you've had to give me shit in the comments for using caps, I apologize for that. I get a little excited sometimes.
That's okay. And I get a little too rigid sometimes.
No, you're a
I'm
blast.
working
It's all
on it.
good. It's a lot of fun. Dr. Blitz, just wanted to ask you real quick. So there is this theory I heard a long time ago, and I think it's outdated now, and I'm just curious as to your thoughts on it. I mean, my science knowledge is pretty rudimentary, high school level or something like, do you remember Through the Wormhole? I used to watch that quite a bit.
I've never seen it.
Okay, it was a docu-series with Morgan Freeman talking about, all sorts of different things. That one, I feel like at some point I heard it there, if not, it was maybe online. It posited that there was a possibility that black holes acted as some sort of umbilical cords as leading to the creation of a new universe. I think that's outdated now. I've never heard why, and I'm just wondering why that doesn't, as a theory, that doesn't stand any longer. Your thoughts on that?
So this is called, there's a name for it. I think it's called cosmological natural selection. And it was put forward by Lee Smolin. That's who it was. Lee Smolin is always an interesting guy. As far as I know, nobody's really proved 100% that it's not the case. That said, I guess, and I'm looking at it right now, I guess it's the case that he's made some predictions with the theory that have just not worked out, that have been false. So maybe the particular version that Lee Smolin was talking about has been falsified, like the specific details, but that hasn't ruled out the whole general idea. That said, it is one of those things that we don't, if we don't have any reason to believe it is true, we should probably not believe it. We should probably not believe it's true.
So I guess what are the reasons, I maybe this is a dumb question, but I guess what has led us to think that that's not possible, I guess? I guess this is something you haven't researched quite a bit. I'm just wondering if you had any insight on it.
Well, no, the point is that nobody said it's not possible, but we don't have any reason to believe it as it stands. So as far as I know, there's no supporting evidence. There's no theoretical motivation. It was just a neat idea that somebody had. That person happened to be Lee Smolin, who's pretty well respected. And then he made a prediction with it, and the prediction was false. Maybe there's still another version of it that's not false, but in the absence of evidence supporting it, and in the presence of failed predictions, it's just not there's not really good reason to believe it's true.
Gotcha. Cool. Very cool. Just wondering. I know it died off a little bit. I was just wondering as to where that concept went. So thank you for the information. I appreciate it.
Yeah.
Thank you for coming up, Matlock. Appreciate
Thank you so
you.
much. I'm not sure how to drop down.
Okay, I'll get you down.
Thank
I
you.
have a super chat over on YouTube that says, in France and Quebec, I'm going to probably butcher this, laicization, I don't know if I said that right, is official policy. Elected and civil servants may not display religious symbols or seek converts while on the job. Your thoughts? I favor it. That's what the super chat says. And I also favor that. So what are your thoughts on that?
I think that there's room for if somebody is religious and they want to wear a cross, I don't actually see an issue with that in as a public official, but they definitely shouldn't be trying to convert people. I think that it should absolutely not be part of their policy, or it shouldn't be part of their personal or their public persona where they're actively trying to convert people. I think that that's super messed up.
I agree. Ashtaroth, how are you today?
Hi, I'm doing good. I just requested up to play.
All right. I'm going to tell everybody games. You guys, that's the end of the Q&A portion of this. We're going to now play everybody's favorite game that I made up, Divine or Decline. And it's a really simple game. There are no points and everybody loses. It's really fun. The game is simple. I'm going to read a phrase, and there's the stickers right there. If you're a subscriber, we have stickers that you can just pop up. If the phrase that I read is from the Bible, and I use the New American Standard Bible because it's copyright free. If it's from the Bible, you'll just say divine. And if it is not from the Bible, if it is from the Quran, if it is from the Book of Mormon, or if I made it up, it's decline. So I usually just ask the question, and I'll start from the top and go on down to the bottom, and you guys let me know what you think. You guys in chat, go ahead and drop your stickers when you answer. And if you're over on YouTube, play along as well. Is everybody ready?
Yeah.
Oh yeah, but I'm definitely gonna lose.
Everybody does.
Yeah, we all lose.
Yeah, everybody loses.
Let me express to you that Justin is Thinker did pretty good. Bash has done pretty good. Justin did pretty good. But nobody goes away a winner on this one. Okay. He stretches out the north over empty space and hangs the earth on nothing. Ashtaroth.
Decline.
Etc.
Decline.
Love.
Decline.
Grana.
Decline.
Dr. Blitz.
Decline.
You guys, that's divine. That's in Job.
Damn it, Crystal.
26-7.
I thought that was the Quran.
I thought it was the
That
Quran
was
too. The way it's written is
26-7.
hilarious.
Okay. All right.
Amazing.
And the light of the moon shall be as the light of the sun, and the heat thereof shall burn sevenfold. Ashtaroth.
I'll go with divine this time.
Okay, etc.
Decline.
All right, Fluff.
Decline.
Okay, Grana.
Decline.
All right, Dr. Blitz.
Decline.
That is decline. That one is made up.
That was a good one. I was not sure.
All right, here we go. Number 3. For the spirit of the living creature was in the wheels. Ashtaroth.
Ooh, decline.
Can you guys see the answers in my glasses? Etc.
Well, I was gonna go divine. I'll stick with it, I guess.
Okay. Fluff.
I'm gonna go with divine.
All right, Grana.
Decline.
All right, Dr. Blitz.
Decline.
That is divine. That is Ezekiel 120.
Yeah.
Ezekiel
I had no positive on my answer.
The spirit of the animal is in the wheels.
What does that even mean?
Spirit of the living creature was in the wheels. It's really
Sure.
weird. I don't know.
That's so
what does
weird.
any of this mean? Why did I believe any of this is the question, people?
Yeah.
Okay.
That's funny.
Number 4, they shall calculate the measure of the stars, yet shall not know the hand that hung them. Ashtaroth.
Divine.
Etc.
Divine.
Fluff.
Decline.
All right, Grana.
Divine.
Dr. Blitz.
I think it's divine.
That one is declined. That is made up. Okay, number 5. He has inscribed a circle on the surface of the waters at the boundary of light and darkness. Ashtaroth.
Oof. Decline.
All right, etc.
Decline.
Fluff.
Divine.
Grana.
I'll go with decline. Oh my God.
All right, Dr. Blitz.
I want to say decline.
That is divine. That is Job 26:10. Job has a lot of stuff. Okay. Number 6. And the seed did divide after its kind, each according to the pattern set by God, and none crossed the order. Astra.
Decline.
Etc.
Decline.
Bluff.
Divine.
Grana.
Decline.
Dr. Blitz.
Decline.
That is decline. That is the Book of Mormon. For some reason I didn't put down where I got that from, but somewhere in the Book of Mormon. Number 7. Then the stars will fall from the sky, and the powers of the heavens will be shaken. Ashtaroth.
Divine.
Etc.
Divine.
Fluff.
Divine.
Grana.
Divine.
Dr. Blitz.
Divine?
Oh no.
That is divine. That is Matthew 24:29. I'm glad Cyber's not here. Just join. Cyber knows the Bible and the Book of Mormon, so he gets so many of these right because he knows when I'm playing with y'all. Okay, and he's learning the Quran now too. So he's going to be on the show soon, though. So he will be playing soon. All right. Number 8. He created life from a clot and made the bones, then clothed the bones with flesh. Ashtaroth.
Decline.
Etc.
Decline.
Fluff.
Decline.
Grana.
Not again. Decline.
Dr. Blitz.
Decline.
That is decline. That's from the Quran. I hear that actually in a lot of debates, that verse gets brought up. That is Quran 23:14. Paraphrased with God, because I don't use Allah, because then you guys would know what I was reading from. So, and lo, the firmament did vibrate, and a great voice came forth as thunder rolling through the elements. Ashtaroth.
Decline.
Etc.
Divine.
I'm gonna go with decline.
Grana.
Divine.
Dr. Blitz.
Divine.
That is decline. That is made up. And I just said why I don't say Allah. I don't say Allah because then they would know it was from the Quran. So I don't know why you asked that right after I said that. Okay, last and not least, this is for all the marbles. Whoever gets this right is the winner. It doesn't matter how many you've lost before. You now win, okay? This is your redemption right here, you guys. All right. He makes the winds his messengers, flaming fire his ministers. Asherah.
Decline.
Etc.
Divine.
Fluff.
Decline.
Grana.
I think that's Psalm, so I'm going to say divine.
All right, Dr. Blitz.
Divine?
That is divine. That is Psalms. That is 104:4. And that is another game in the books for divine or decline. You guys, thanks so much for playing with us. I hope you had fun.
I got 5. That's not bad at all, you guys. What'd you get?
That's not bad at all.
Nicely done,
I
Grandma.
got them all right myself, but that was me.
Oh wait, you're wrong, Crystal. There are only winners. You win every time. That's who wins. You win every time.
Okay, all right. Hey, Dr. Blitz, when will you be live again?
If all goes according to plan, tomorrow morning with Unapologetic with Ian at the usual time, around 11:30 Eastern time, probably.
All right, that sounds great. You guys make sure you turn into Unapologetic with Dr. Blitz and Ian. I don't think Justin's going to be there tomorrow, but, he's on there quite a bit too. So he's still on his summer schedule right now. And I will be live again. I for sure on Wednesday. I don't think I have any Decon Q and A's before then, but let me tell you some of the guests I have coming up. Lobes the Absurdist is coming up. I also have Coco, who is known as Controversial Compass. He does a lot of the formal debates on the lives. Tiny Science and I are going to get together. I also have Daniel Green in the works, Joel Reed's Bible, Mezzo, Justin. So make sure that you're subscribed or that you are, whatever you do the things. Okay, you guys, I will see you soon. Everybody have a great day, and I'll see you around the mean streets of TikTok. Dr. Blitz, thank you again. Have a great day. Bye, everybody.
Thank you for having me.
Bye.
Oh, and I hope we could do this again in a few months, Dr. Blitz, because it was a blast.
Yeah, absolutely.
Thank you.
Thanks so much. Have a great day. Bye.
Bye.
This is my favorite scripture. I'm like, y'all folks just screwing up y'all lives, y'all screwing up y'all marriage and everything. Talking about this kingdom spouse and God ordained marriage narratives.
Sister,
because
we're gonna get
once
you a scripture.
Once you enter that covenant first spouse, you locked in. Ain't no divorcing and talking about God sending me another one and stuff like that. So I just wonder if y'all could just expound on that a little bit to teach the people a little bit.
Okay, I'm gonna get you a scripture.
All right, I'm gonna drop. You can drop me down because I'm at work.
Okay. Now this scripture right here in Ecclesiasticus, we're gonna get y'all two type of marriages. I'm gonna put it like this: two ways of marriage.
Can I say something about the kingdom spouse first?
Okay.
So kingdom spouse is a man-made word because there's no such thing as kingdom spouse. Basically what it means to be is a spouse that God give you, a God-giving spouse. That's why they say kingdom spouse. The word of God says a man that find a wife find a good thing.
Yeah.
And obtain blessings, obtain favor, because he finding a wife based on God laws, God principles, God statute. And when you find a wife based on God law and you got the fear of God in you, you're going to treat that wife right.
That's right.
And she going to treat you right because that's the wife God gave you. And not only that, that's the wife, you're the husband that God showed that wife to.
That's right.
Because see, for us to get married, we both got to be in agreement. You got to be in agreement that this is the love of your life. You got to be in agreement that this is the man of your dreams. You got to be in agreement that this is the God-given man that you want to be with. Just like he got to be in agreement that this is the woman that God gave him, if it's by God. Most of us don't pick men and women by God. We pick it because, oh, I want a 6'3" dude. Oh, they got to be tall. Oh, he got to be bald-headed and wear glasses with a bearded mustache and wear a black shirt. No, I'll just play it. So sometimes we pick based on what we like instead of basing on what God has sent us. And I always use this reference. I'm 5'5". My wife wanted a 6-foot-something man. Everybody she been with was 6-foot-something. She 5'4".
I can hold you like a baby.
I'm still taller than her. But
put you
the man that God sent her wasn't a 6-foot man that she was looking for. The man that God sent her that's going to take care of her the rest of her life is a 5'5" man. So you got to understand, God is going to give you what you need versus what you want. Because you want a 6'5", but then 2 years later you're going to be talking about, oh, we're unequally yoked and all this stuff.
And God don't want you trying to say God gonna give me an ugly woman, Chuck. See, y'all
no. I'm saying God don't.
Y'all be getting on. Y'all be trying to be. I think y'all be trying to be funny. I think y'all be trying to be funny. You and Tony.
No, just sure. No, but God wants you to be with a mate that loves Him. Right. Now you can tell if a person love God because they treat you right.
That's right.
You can't tell me that a person want to divorce you and he's a pastor of a church. And then he want to marry somebody else in the church. That ain't treating you right.
Now, Ambassador, to answer your question, the scripture Tony had up, Ecclesiasticus 7:26, it says, "Hast thou a wife after thou
after thy mind. This means this is a wife you pick. There's two ways a marriage is started. You pick one, or like the other scriptures say, well, for what God had joined together, let no man put asunder. But then it said right here, forsake her not. So even when you pick someone who's not your so-called kingdom bae, kingdom spouse, they ain't the one God ordained. What the Bible say, forsake her not. Forsake him not too. You can't forsake him. So ain't no divorce. You can't run from it. You can't run around from it. That's why the Bible tell us, let me slow down. Matthew 6:33. But seek ye first the kingdom of God. You want a kingdom bae? Well, seek God's kingdom. Duh. It makes sense. Seek first the kingdom of God and his righteousness, and all them things will be added. He'll give it to you. Delight yourself in the Lord, and he'll give you the desires of your heart.
Right. The stoic, epic, whatever that means.
Come on, mute, brother. 80-20. Zaza, I got a question, sister. Well, I'm gonna ask you after this. See if this brother come on mute now.
Lob Kennel.
Lob Kennel, so he must grow puppies.
I'm good.
Yes, sir. And I'll just say, I want to say first of all, I appreciate what y'all doing, and
he got the bullets.
enjoyed it. Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
I see him.
I heard y'all talking to the guy Curtis earlier, and I agree with you guys first and foremost before I start out. And I'm on a learning curve, I'm on my journey walk with God, and I've been on the panel before, going through a divorce. Well, my wife found before, not me. But anyways, I think what he was alluding to is, I think a lot of people has been misled and confused, and maybe you guys can help them in this misled and misconfused. As long as I've been growing up, in marriage, everybody is under the conception that you are eligible to get a divorce if you're being abused. You're eligible to get a divorce if you're being cheated on. You're eligible to get a divorce for maybe one or two more reasons, but that's apparently you guys are showing them that that's not true.
And,
so I had
brother,
some.
No, go ahead. My bad. Go ahead. I want you to finish your thoughts.
So I had someone.
I'm trying to check your Instagram.
So I had someone to tell me that there's grounds for divorce if there's infidelity. So I questioned where is grounds for divorce in the Bible, and I asked you guys, is there a scripture or anything that says grounds for divorce in the Bible?
No.
Okay. All right.
No.
All right. Then I also had someone else. I'm not gonna say who this person was, but I also had someone to tell me that it was in the Bible that God honors divorce, and I asked them. I said, "Show me," and they said Corinthians. So that's false.
Yeah,
but my question to you guys is:
this guy said he hates divorce.
Right. Where did the notion, or where did the concept of people thinking
Matthew 19:9?
No, where did the people? Oh, go ahead.
That's where they get the concept of them being able to divorce from. That's where they get all that.
He's trying to say something different. He's trying to say something different.
No,
Say it again, sir.
Right, I was asking, where did the people get the concept it's okay to divorce for
That's what I thought you was
adultery
going
or
to say.
abuse?
They get that concept because they have unforgiveness in their hearts. Because if you commit adultery on me when we marry, you sleep with someone else, I'm not forgiving you. And I want to get out of it. That's what it is. But we want God to forgive us for everything we do. Every single thing, every single sin we commit, we want God to forgive us. But then turn around, we can't even forgive for adultery. And it's easier said than done. People say, well, Chuck, you ain't went through that. That's easy. You're right. You're right. And if I ever go through it, I still have to forgive. If I'm calling myself a man of God, if I'm telling you I have to do it God's way, I have to forgive. Don't mean I got to stay in it. I can separate, but I can forgive. And then I can make that person pay. I can show this person, hey, all them benefits you was getting with me, you ain't finna get them with me no more. Go ahead and get them with the adulteress, the fornicator you was with or whatever. And then when that person realized, man, I made a terrible mistake. Don't nobody love me like this person loved me. I'm searching somewhere else for love when I got it right here. Like women wants to be loved, and they want to be in love in a way that only women can be loved, just like men. We don't have to be loved the same way women want to be loved. My wife just wants somebody to sit in the car with her when she go to her little places, like I'm doing right now. And she out shopping. That's how I show love. Instead of never wanting to go and sending her by herself. That's how I show love. And when she wants to try on something and want me to see it, I engage and I show her. That's how I show love. That's how she receives love. Oh, I like that, babe. Yeah, go and get that one. And then we men, we like to be loved a different way. Leave me alone when I'm watching the game. No, I'm just playing, y'all. No, we like to be loved a different way.
Right.
On time.
That's what I'm saying. So we have to compliment each other.
Yeah. And that's another thing. My next question is like, okay, so for the person that's filing for divorce, is filing for divorce a sin?
Yes.
Yes.
It is a sin. Okay. So with that being said, understanding that, and I guess this is for the people that's going to come on the panel later and go back and forth with y'all. If filing a divorce is a sin, why wouldn't remarrying someone else be a sin?
Come on.
Yes.
Come on.
I know. I'm just saying, like,
no. That's what we're trying to tell Mr. That's what we're trying to tell Mr. Curtis that was up here.
Yeah, so
Right.
That's the only thing I didn't know, but it makes sense now why remarrying somebody else would be a sin. Because
God looks at that as adultery. Exactly. Right. He looks at it as adultery when you remarry someone else because it's a sin.
Careful out there on that road, Chuck.
That's my wife, man. She on the wall let her drive.
And yeah, brother, you know, they what they is and another reason, that scripture Matthew 19:9, it confuses a lot of them. But my thing is this: that shows you how confused, how people don't read their Bible. Everybody that come up here confused about Matthew 19:9 and don't leave out here with understanding, they don't read their Bible. Because this is what they say. They say, when we tell them, we ask them, this for the majority, they be like, well, married people can't commit fornication. Then they're going to say, well, why does it say wife? What you mean? So you didn't read the first book of Matthew? The first chapter of Matthew is literally in the first chapter, first book, 18th verse, all the way down to 25. You don't know how Jesus got here? Right. Let me know right there. They ignore the scripture when it says to study, to show thyself approved. Because this wouldn't even be a problem.
But Lob, not only that, if you're reading Matthew 19:9, read the first 18 verses first. So you'll know who Jesus is talking about. Because God is talking about a man, a single man going from being single to going to be married.
Yep.
And there's a period in between you being single. That period is being engaged. And then from engagement to marriage.
Yep.
And he's talking about that in verses 1 through 18 before you get to 19. So therefore you can understand 19 when it's talking about a fornicator. Yep. That's what they don't read that.
Because the important word that's in there that'll help everyone out is espouse. When it says the word espouse, if you hear that word espouse, that ought to make you stop right then and there. Because it didn't say spouse. It said espouse. That should make you go and study. Look the word up. Go do some research on what espouse mean. This mean engaged. So what does it mean in this context in Matthew? It means when they are in the Jewish system, they had a betrothal period, a betrothal system. That was a whole arrangement they had. So to get out of that, they had to divorce, which was to put away. So legally, it was a legally binding system. So they legally had to divorce to get out of that. That's why it says put away. Now that put away has a twofold meaning. Now, because now we don't have that legally binding system. Right. We can get engaged and we can put one away without having a divorce. Because God hates divorce in the sense of you stepping into the covenant. Not if you're engaged, but you stepping into the covenant. He didn't like it when they was into the covenant.
Right.
So we don't have the legally divorce when we're engaged no more. We don't have it in America. So we don't do that step. Our step is we can put them away if, just don't want to see them no more. You wake up and want to, like me, I got a whole lot of plants. And she don't want me to bring my plants in the house, I'm gone.
All right, so my last question is this. So why do you guys think a lot of people that's in their second, third, and fourth marriage always say God bless me with a second, third, and fourth marriage?
Strong delusion, Tony.
God will give them the strong delusion to believe a lie. Because they didn't want to believe the truth.
Yep.
Let me show you that in 2 Thessalonians 2 and 11.
Okay.
And what's that scripture in Isaiah, Chuck, that you gave us?
Look what it said. Yeah, about the he'll give them that delusion. He'll choose their delusion.
Yeah.
So watch this. 2 Thessalonians 2 and 11 says, and for this cause God shall send them strong delusion that they should believe a lie. Now watch, Tony gonna read the rest of it, right, Tony?
Yep. That they all might be damned who believe not the truth, but have pleasure in unrighteousness.
Now, here's the thing. Whenever they find out that they're not supposed to divorce, because a lot of people don't know, we get that. And you can always ask God for forgiveness. We're not putting people in heaven or hell up here. That's not what we do. We just give verses and we give truth. Whenever they come into the truth, I ain't never supposed to get divorced from my first husband or first wife. And I ain't never supposed to get remarried. Now, this is what God is saying. A lot of people, they know the truth, but they still stay in that thing that they realize, okay, well, this marriage is working good. I got too much stuff invested. This is a new house that I got. This is a new car that I got. My husband paying all the bills, or my wife doing this and doing that. I'm too far invested. We got children together. You are too far invested in your flesh, but you're not too far invested with your soul. It doesn't make sense. Because when your flesh goes to rest, and the next time you pop open your eyes, it's going to be you and the Lord. And you should be invested with your soul, not with your flesh. That means whatever God tells you got to do in order to get to heaven, we should be doing it. Now, we're not saying it's easy. You married to a second, you had kids and stuff. It's not easy, but you should be making plans. Hey, we got to talk about this. Let's talk about this together with each other. Then after we decide something, now we need to talk about this with the kids, if the kids of age to hear that. Right? Now, we need to talk about how we're going to do this separation or this divorce. Like, am I going to move out or you're going to move out? Or if you're not moving out, well, I can't afford the house by myself. So that's the stuff that needs to come after. We understand it's not easy. God's word is not easy. Remember, me and my brothers are prick too. We got to go through the same rules y'all go through. We ain't held rulers. But there should be some kind of idea or some kind of plan going on so that you can get it right, because God is watching. And then, God, I finally got that divorce. I finally came out of that. Now I'm going to ask you for forgiveness because I did not know. Now I know I'm not going to ever do that again, but I'm not going back to my first one. God ain't telling you got to go back, but you got to stay separated. And you got to sacrifice the rest of your life to the Lord. That's the whole point of it. And some people don't want that. Our flesh needs things. We need to be held. We need to be cuddled. We need a going out of town companion. Ain't no bunch of men gonna keep going out of town with each other all the time. Women do that. Women would take trips after trip after trip with their girlfriends. Ain't no man finna keep taking trips with their homeboys. I'm finna say boyfriend. With their homeboys. You just don't see that.
Right.
So our flesh needs certain things, and we let the flesh overpower the spirit. And we let the flesh tells us what we need to do, instead of the spirit saying, no, don't do that, Chuck. Don't do that. Don't entertain that female. She looking at you smiling, and she winking those eyes with them fake eyelashes, Chuck. Don't let her do that. Don't entertain that. And then when the spirit tell you that, you keep walking. You right, God. I recognize that. Because the Bible even says if a man lusts in his heart, because you see somebody, you already commit adultery. So I don't want to be looking at these females out here that's walking around half naked, committing adultery. If it happened to come across my eye, oh my goodness, Lord Jesus. And then I turn my eyes and I'll be like, babe, you see that girl? And my wife be like, I seen her before you saw her. Oh, nasty self. Because they don't care how they come out looking. They don't. They do not care in these days. And then they get mad when these guys out here try to holler at them, or these guys out here call them a certain name. How you gonna get mad when you come out braless? How you gonna get mad that you wearing a men's tank top? That if you move to the left, your whole breast is showing? How you gonna get mad that you got on shorts that's showing your behind cheek? You can't get mad. You came out like that.
My Lord.
You can't get mad at these guys because you promoted it, and some of these guys ain't saved. But you get mad when they call you the H word.
What the H word is, Chuck? Oh, never mind.
God says a whore. and the guys are, and for the guys it's a whoremonger.
Appreciate it, man.
Hey, well, I appreciate y'all, man. I appreciate y'all. I'm going through this. My wife filed for divorce, but I'm standing strong, and I'm just gonna give it to God and
stay strong, brother.
We're gonna pray for you.
Keep praying, brother.
Yeah.
Keep praying.
Yes, sir.
Keep praying. Don't stop praying. Don't cease praying. Keep praying. God loves you, man.
Appreciate it. Y'all have a blessed day. Thank you.
Talk to you later.
It's Kills.
Hey, gentlemen, can you hear me?
Yeah.
Hi. I just have a quick question. Like, I've been on here for a while, just listening to everything, and there's a lot of good scriptures that you're pulling up, and a lot of good points that you're making. But I just have a question on what your take is with, like, King David. King David had 8 wives. He divorced his first wife and was still married to, I think, one of them. I don't know the whole story, but he had 8 wives. So how does that work?
Well, God allowed in the Old Testament, he allowed Moses to have like 2 or 3 wives.
Right.
Even he allowed Abraham to, what was it, Sarah?
Yeah.
And what was the other woman?
Hagar.
Yeah, Hagar.
Yeah,
But
and then he
Solomon.
allowed Solomon.
Hagar.
He allowed, but see, God had a plan for all this that he allowed in the Old Testament. Some of the plans was to get to certain people that he needed and also to populate the world. So he allowed that. Just like when Adam and Eve, it doesn't talk about Adam and Eve had daughters. But who you think Cain was married? Who you think Cain married and had children with?
Your sister.
You got to read other books. That's what I'm saying. It doesn't talk about that type of stuff, but how are we going to populate the world?
Yeah.
So in the Old Testament, God allows certain things to happen. That's why he had to send Jesus for the new. There's things that change in the New Testament. For one, let every man have his own wife, and let every woman have her own husband in order to avoid fornication. Number 2, we're not sacrificing bulls and goats no more.
Right.
Jesus was the ultimate sacrifice. The dietary laws, some of those things had to change. Sabbath day, Jesus got up and stood and spoke and healed and did all kind of stuff on the Sabbath day, showing you that he is the Lord of the Sabbath. That means every day we should worship, not just on a Saturday or a Sunday. I need to talk to my God Monday through Friday. That's when the devils come out. I can't wait. I can't wait for Saturday to get here. I need him every single day.
People, I feel like people kind of interpret, and it's people in general. You hear a lot of pastors that preach different scriptures and different parts of the Bible, and I feel like they kind of interpret it in their own way, which when you said,
and that's what the Lord said.
Study to show thyself approved. I completely agree on that. But I did have, like, so if somebody did get remarried, so you're saying, well, there's things that were in the Old Testament that Jesus came and made new. I mean, heck, eating crab legs isn't good. That was in the Old Testament. That was a sin in the Old Testament. You couldn't eat things like that, right? But God
says, well, God says you can eat anything as long as you bless it. That's what I'm saying. A lot of things change in the new. And when you go back to Genesis, God says, I give you meat. Any meat that liveth, that's what God said you can eat. So last question then. This is my final question. So when somebody
remarries. So we say when we ask God for forgiveness, how many times did David sin and just keep repenting, right? David was a man after God's own heart because he was quick to repent. So if we're married and we remarry, right? You have children, you're in a new marriage, and you were married before, but you get remarried is what I'm saying. And then you have children, you're happy in this marriage lasts forever. Are you saying you can't repent and tell God, you can't repent then and be okay in your second marriage? You have to divorce or split apart your family?
You do. Let me tell you the reason why you do. Because like the Apostle Paul, he was a persecutor and an injurious and a blasphemer, but he said, I've done these things ignorantly, but I have obtained mercy. Once the truth is preached to you and it quickens your ear and then it goes into your mind and you understand it wholeheartedly, that's when judgment starts. So now God is giving you the opportunity. Choose ye this day who you're going to serve. Are you going to serve the spirit or are you going to serve your flesh just for a moment?
But if you repent,
so now he's giving you the ability, right? Repentance means that I do an about face and come out of it. Like you see people in the military, when that drill sergeant says 10 hut, and them people do a 180-degree turn. They don't do a 360. Because when you do a 360, what do? Wind up right at the same starting point. Repentance means to turn about face and walk away from it, not to turn and go back to it after you repent. No. Because there remain no more sacrifice for sin when you do that. Because now you're actively living in it and you know it. Tony, pull up Isaiah 59, verse 1, and see what our sins do to us.
But see that I think that's why I'm getting confused too, because when we talk about, you guys are talking about scripture, you'll pull up scriptures from the Old Testament before you pull up a scripture in the New Testament to say to.
So I could go to the New Testament too about sin.
Okay.
That's not a problem.
Yeah, well, yeah, but I'm talking about divorce.
Okay, this has to do with divorce because all unrighteousness is sin unto God, all of it. Righteousness is sin unto God, all of it. And see what sin does to us after we come into. After we come into the knowledge of so he has one church. So that means he's coming back for one bride. That's why he gave leave in the Old Testament for them to have all the different wives. But here comes Jesus. The Bible says it pleased God that for righteousness' sake, that he would magnify the law to make it honorable. So if marriage is honorable in all, in a bed that is undefiled, but ye whoremongers and adulterers, God will judge. That means he cut the S off of wives, plural, and made it one wife, singular. And that is unto you unalive, put in the ground. That's when the covenant of marriage is broken.
Right.
All right, brother Tony.
So the marriage. Go ahead.
You said Isaiah 59, verse 1. Behold, the Lord's hand is not shortened, that it cannot save, neither his ear heavy, that it cannot hear.
Please.
But your iniquities have separated between you and your God, and your sins have hid his face from you, that he will not hear.
Wait, did you pull up Romans? I'm sorry, I missed it. Did you pull up Romans?
Romans chapter 3. Go to verse 18 through 20.
There is no fear of God before their eyes. Now we know that what things soever the law said, it said to them who are under the law, that every mouth may be stopped, and all the world may be guilty before God. Therefore, by the deeds of the law, there shall no flesh be justified in his sight, for by the law is the knowledge of sin.
Go to Romans chapter 7, verse 5.
But we're no longer under the law anymore. We're under grace.
Yes, we are. Let me tell you how we're under the law.
But I feel like
go out here.
I'm not even trying to argue, but I feel like there's a
But here is what you are looking at. You're feeling. God don't deal with feeling. He deals with what's written. So let's see what Romans chapter 7. No, we're not contradicting.
Saying God don't contradict. God is
Tony, go back to
Sister,
go
are
back
you
to
gonna
Romans.
you
Go
gonna let
back
him
to
speak
Romans.
because you keep cutting him off.
Go back to Romans chapter 6, verse 23, and let's see what the wages of sin does.
Yeah.
Well, the wages of sin is unalive, but the gift of God is eternal life through Jesus Christ our Lord.
Right. Right.
So, you mean to tell me, God, I know that adultery is wrong. Look at the 10 commandments that God gave Moses during the time of the children of Israel. Thou shalt not commit adultery.
Right.
You think that just was for Israel? No, that was for the whole world.
Right. Correct. I'm not disagreeing to that.
So, when you commit adultery, when you lay down with a second spouse, whether it's male or female, you're actively living in adultery. That is a polluted relationship. Think of it. Say your husband's name was Mr. Black. You divorced Mr. Black. Now you've got your second husband, Mr. Brown. Every single time that you write a check in Mr. Brown's name, that makes you a liar. You know why? Because Mr. Black is still living. That's your original husband. So now that second man or second woman, God looks at that person as a stranger. Don't even identify that even being a marriage in his eyes. God said that. So how can we in the flesh supersede the infinite, eternal, everlasting knowledge and wisdom of him that created us? But if a wife, as for the wife that committeth adultery, which taketh strangers instead of her husband. What does that mean? The first one that you said, I do, and you were put in wedlock and holy matrimony to. That's your husband. You're bound to him, and she is bound to him, and he is bound to her as long as you two live on this side of the graveyard. That's it. There's no getting out of that.
Tony, I remember when I first read this scripture right here, man, and we all read this scripture on live. Man. We went all the way to the 16th chapter with it, man. That was crazy.
All right, Taylor.
Look at this. I want you to give one more scripture, Tony. Go to Ezekiel. Go down to 59 and 60. We're going to show you the spirit versus the flesh.
Oh, I said.
Now this ties into.
Is that the one about the covenant?
Yes. This ties into Numbers 2, 30 and 2. It says, if a man vow a vow and swears an oath before the Lord, he binds his soul with a bond and cannot break his word. And every word that proceeds forth out of his mouth, he must do it. That goes for he and she. Now look at what this says. Thus saith the Lord God. This is God, Jesus talking. This is not us. I will deal with thee as thou hast done, which has despised the oath and breaking the covenant. The Bible also comes along and says there's breaking the law of marriage, the judgment and the commandment and the statute I set in the earth for all creation when it comes to marriage that I create in heaven first. He said, nevertheless, I will remember my covenant with thee in the days of thy youth, and I will establish unto thee an everlasting covenant. Don't you realize before Adam and Eve fell in the Garden of Eden, man was supposed to be immortal and eternal living on earth? That's the everlasting covenant. But look at what the Lord did. After Adam and Eve's eyes was open and he cast them out of the garden, put a flaming sword and a cherubim around it where they could not go back in, it still didn't break the bond of marriage. He still kept it. So you have to have that until you unalive. It's no getting out of it. Because if you pass away in adultery and you know that you did, now there is no more repentance. There's no more being filled with the Holy Ghost. There's no more being baptized in the name of Jesus Christ. That seals your fate because you perished in adultery. And he said, all those that do these things and be not deceived, for God is not mocked, shall not inherit the kingdom of God. And adultery falls into that category. The book speaks so plain when you harmonize the scriptures. There's no getting around it for nobody in the earth.
Understanding. I don't think it has to do with harmonizing the scriptures. I think a lot of it has to do with just understanding. Like
harmonizing is understanding, sister. How can you harmonize something when you don't know what you're putting together?
A lot of it, I'm saying a lot of it is misconstrued by people misunderstanding the word. That's why I'm listening to you guys. That's why I've been listening to y'all all morning. Like,
so we're led by the Holy Ghost.
Right.
We're led by the Holy Ghost. We're not led by nothing else.
Any other questions, Skills?
No, I'm good. Thank you.
Are you up? What up, Curtis? Curtis.
Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Hey, how y'all brothers doing? It's been a minute.
Doing good. How you doing?
All right. Now, I just want to get up here and
sorry about your Pacers.
Don't make me come down to Atlanta, man. I just want to get on here. I see y'all still going strong, and I appreciate your brothers because, you know, I try to get on here as much as I can when you on here, Brother Tony, and listen because it continued to strengthen me and encourage me. And I notice a lot of people come up here, they get all mad how you say things and stuff like that, and the other brothers in these panel. I'd rather hear it from y'all than to hear from God say, "Depart from me, I never knew you." So it doesn't matter how it's been said. Everything is out of love when we preach this word of God. That's what people have to understand. You know, we're trying to pull you from the pits, from hell. So sometimes we preach with some little harshness. Sometimes it's soft, but I'd rather hear y'all, scream and yell at me than to hear God say those words to me. And so I just came up here, to continue to, encourage your brothers. Y'all doing a wonderful job. And Pastor Gino, Apostle Gino Genius is coming up here next Friday, man, in Indianapolis, Indiana.
Yep.
So yeah, I'm gonna be there. I'm hoping he started church up here soon, because I would love to be a part of that. But your brothers keep doing your thing, and we'll drop down and continue to listen to you.
Appreciate it, brother. Thank you for that.
Yep.
Thank
you, my brother.
Thank you. You welcome. You welcome, brother. I taught these brothers all they know. They ain't even know nothing about this until they came into